All right, hear ye, hear ye. Is that proper? I don't know these days. Anyway, we're going to be starting our meeting. I guess I didn't realize it was after 5, so we're going to start right now. So let's start with roll call.
Council members Abel,
Here.
Dennison,
Here.
Lombardo,
Here.
Schooler,
Here.
and Mayor Droz.
Here. Now we're going to have the, let's see here, the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask Sheriff Captain Warwick to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure. If you please join me in standing if you're able, and the flag's here on the side of the room. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now we have our invocation by Pastor Bill Wilcox from Living Hope Church.
Thank you. Shall we pray? Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you this evening for another day that you didn't promise us. And we thank you for the town of Yucca Valley and for this gathering to conduct the business of the town. As I think about the needs of our city, my heart is tender toward the children who are growing up here. And so I would like to pray for our schools, for safety, for good learning environment where they can grow both academically and socially, and that you would protect them from those who would seek to harm. I pray for the many civil servants who give themselves for the betterment of our community. I lift up our town council to you, faced with sometimes impossible decisions. I pray you give them the wisdom of Solomon, even tonight as they conduct the business of the town. And I pray as well for our first responders, for their protection as they go forward into dangerous situations. I pray for those brave men and women in fire protection, law enforcement, and emergency medical services who put themselves on the line each and every shift to protect and serve the residents and visitors of our basin, that you would bless them for their service. Finally, this evening I would pray for our nation, that with all the talk of culture wars and threats to democracy, that you would teach us once again to live by the golden rule, that we would treat others the way we want others to treat us. I ask all these things in the name of him who was and who is to come, our Messiah, the Lord Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor, and thank you, Sheriff, for our captain. Now we have presentations, and it looks like we have one from San Bernardino County Fire Protection District, Assistant Chief Bill Villarino. Villarino. Villarino.
There you go. Yeah, however it comes out.
Valenzuegas. No. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Been a little while. I wanted to apologize. I was due to speak at your last meeting and I had a family emergency. My father needed surgery. He's home healing. He needed a triple bypass, and it was all of a sudden. So triple bypass and a valve replacement. He's 78, retired from law enforcement. He's been retired. The good part, he's been retired longer than he worked. He worked 28 years, and he's been retired longer. So that's the goal. But he's home healing. I communicated with Curtis, but I just wanted to apologize. I was on the calendar and moved it to tonight. So
But he's doing well.
I want to give you guys a little update of County Fire, just real quick, of our division, our battalion out here. I got a quick picture up there, but we'll talk a little bit about the station. I know that's a big topic. And then also I want to get into a little bit of basic wildfire mitigation. Some of the stuff that we can do, would have our residents do, and maybe some of the stuff that's coming down in the future for some of our high fire hazard areas. And kind of just go through those and then answer any questions for anyone. So just quickly for our call stats over the last quarter of the year is right for here in the Yucca Valley area is 1,302 calls, broken down into that. We have dumpster fires, improvement fires. I've showed you guys this before. It's just different fires and the vegetation fires. Obviously, our biggest one is our medical aids. Over 1,000 calls of just the medical aids. And then, right now, this time of year, we get more structure fires and vegetation fires out in this area. So new Station 41, site selector, that's completed. Our prelim design's done. Schematic design's completed. Design development, I just finished that. That's finishing all the inside furnishings, colors, and all that stuff. They kind of tricked me. They pulled me into a room, and I got to pick all those colors, and I luckily took one person with me. But, I think Councilman Dennison we've always complained of fire chiefs picking weird colors, and then all of a sudden, and I've complained about it for years, and then all of a sudden I was tricked into the day that I was sitting there having to pick all the colors that someone will talk about for the next 100 years on why he made these choices. But I did, and they're going to live with it, but I think we did okay. We hope to go to plan check this summer. They're drawing docs and to get into the process for that and go into plan check this summer and award the bid hopefully in the fall and the winter. So here's what we finalized, our color schematics and our outside wall treatments where we ended up. One of the things with this station that we did, it's going to be the first one in county fires, and I don't believe I've talked to you guys about it yet, but is the cancer prevention stuff that we're doing within the station. So we went with what's called a clean concept. And what a clean concept is, and it's something new and innovative, and Chief Muncie really wanted to support it. And I was already in the design phase, but we were able still to move some things around. And what that does is, when the guys come back from any type of fire, those carcinogens are on their person and on their turnouts. So when they come in now, they're going to come into the fire station, and we're going to call where they park the apparatus the red area, and they'll go in and they'll get their next set of turnouts, because each individual has 2 sets of turnouts, the clothing they wear, and they'll stay in a walking area that's going to take them to a decon area of showers. And there's going to be 3 showers that they'll have individual showers, and put their stuff in a special washing machine that we have for the turnouts, and then they'll get into the shower, clean up before they ever enter into the station. And so that's a new concept. If you go over the course of years, there was many years that we didn't do anything for the cancer, and then we started with putting primal vents exhaust systems inside the fire or the apparatus bay, and then we also decided there was a time you would wear your turnouts into the station, and you would sit down on the chairs, and we learned that those carcinogens are just sitting there and causing cancer. Cancer is running rampant just in our organization, let alone with firefighters throughout the state and the nation. So. Each time we're building something new, we're trying to develop a new process, a new strategy, and there's a lot of communities nationwide that are looking into this stuff. So this will be our first station that we're doing. It did increase the cost of it, but Chief Muncie felt that was warranted and was beneficial to it. So we're excited to see that come out. That's just another view of it. Before I move on, do you guys have any questions of the station stuff? Good. So I always want to touch on the Explorer stuff. We're growing. It's moving on. Battalion Chief Travis Aguirre is still heading that up with a couple of captains, and it is growing. We're starting to get a lot of participation. We got a lot of active people that want to be involved and going through the process. So it went from again, I've explained before. After COVID, we had no Explorers left, and so it's starting to grow and show a lot of interest again within our communities. So some of the questions we've been asked, especially after the recent fires in LA, the devastating fires, is what does county fire do? So what we currently do is we have our residential assessment program. That's for our residents. We started that out here last year. It's been going on for a while, but we started getting a little more traction with it. And that's just the residents. They put in a request to have the engine companies come out and do an assessment on their house. So the captain and the crew will come out to their house and walk around and kind of tell them where they can clean up. Remember, we can't enforce any of that. We can't force them to do certain things, even down to cutting their weeds. That's a code enforcement and the land services stuff. The fire department doesn't really have jurisdiction over that or the responsibility of it. But we can also give recommendations where to move their wood piles and kind of stuff like that. Some of the dangerous items around there that they can help make their house, harden their structure, basically. Fuels reduction crew, that's something new with County Fire. We do have a crew that's out there starting to do some work in certain areas. It's a little bit sticky when you get into private property or government land, but we're kind of navigating through that. But we do have a crew crews that are out there actively doing it. We're looking to have them do some work for us out in the Needles area. And then I know they're possibly going to do some chipping stuff up in Pioneer Town. We're looking at some days up there to do. And so it's something that we can do in any community, especially even if it's our local parks and stuff like that that needs some clearing and needs some help with. They'll get out there and can help out with that. The new construction, it's called Chapter 7, but we've been doing it since '07, and it's enforced on all counties on how to harden your structure when you're in the high fire severity zones. The mountain communities, I believe some of the areas, Pioneer Town's one of them, that they require when you're under building construction. So we enforce those. And then AB 38 we do in this area as well is one of our prevention officers, if a house is being sold, it's inspected as well and before it can be sold to have proper clearances and stuff like that. In addition to that, the last thing I didn't have up there, which I just got word today, so the board, with the support of the board, and there was a lot of controversy, and not to bring up LA into it very much, but there was a lot of controversy over their reserve status of their fire engines, and you saw that on the news. Well, that's every fire department. It's hard to keep apparatus rolling on the ground, and I've explained before, a new fire engine today is about $1 million, and so to have some sitting there, they get old. We use them as long as they can. So when the ones are in reserve, they're not in the best shape. We just got board approval and board support to buy 10 just reserve apparatus, and we'll get one assigned to us out here. That'll be a brand new engine. It's just going to be used for reserve. But it's so that if we do have, the personnel coming in to respond in from home, to add to our fleet. That we have additional apparatus that are up and running. I believe during the line fire and the bridge fire, we were pulling things out of the sticks that we could find just to get on the road rolling. That's not always the best option, but we needed fire engines out there. So one of those, that's a big one that I got word on today that the board did approve it, and we're going to move forward and make this purchase of 10 fire engines just for reserve status like that. So here's our wrap program. It's one of the flyers we have. The captain walks around. I have some flyers here if anyone's interested, and goes through each one's house. So property owners, some of the stuff that we ask to protect their home, obviously fire-resistant type of roofing materials. And I think that's gotten pretty common now, and gotten rid of the wood shake and stuff like that. But still, making sure they're current and they're in good shapes. Cover the vents with metal mesh. A lot of those fires did start with the embers. Embers fly miles and miles. So people think, oh, my community's safe, that fire's far away, but with the winds of 80, 90 miles an hour, they're going to carry those embers. And it's not just the embers that are coming from the brush that's on fire. It's once one house catches on fire or someone's RV or boat, it's those embers that travel. That's more of the material that's traveling through the air. So they get into your roofing attic vents, and then they'll sit there and skunk around into your insulation and catch your house on fire. And so that's how those houses catch on fire that are miles away from the fire. And so when that happens, and people think, oh, I'm too far away, it wouldn't happen to me, or how did that house catch on fire? It must be arson. Not necessarily. That ember could have landed over at that house in a wood pile or something that's flammable up against the house. Obviously, dual pane windows and some type of fire-resistant siding. A lot of structures out here have stucco, and stucco is sufficient. The big one that we talk about is defensible space. 3 zones. So it always used to be just zone 1 and 2. Zone 0 is something new. It's a little controversial, but it is something that works really well. And if you ask any professional that's done a lot of educating themselves about defensible space and what catches on fire, what doesn't, that zone 0 is what saves a lot of houses. And what that is 0 to 5 feet out is nothing combustible. So that's your wood fences that come up to your house, that's your planters, that's your stuff. It's a lot of stuff that's ornamental type bushes in front of your house that beautify your house. But in addition, they also work as kindling if that ember lands in there and catches on fire. And studies, you can look them up on YouTube, but there's many studies that have shown that houses that have this right here, or structures that have the zone 0, are a hardened structure that is very difficult to catch on fire. It's something that they're working up at the state, at the upper levels right now, that may eventually get pushed down to us and pushed down to see if you guys will adopt that type of code. But it doesn't come without some controversy, because you're asking people to change up the structure or the beautification of the front of their house. Zone 1, 5 to 30 feet, that's been around for a while, and that's just reducing your fuel loads and getting that stuff away from your house. And obviously Zone 2, up to 100 feet, and spacing out your trees, getting the dead vegetation. these things right here is what's really going to save your structure, is you're keeping your defensible space. One of the things that was a problem too with those fires and those conflagrations of taking out the neighborhoods, even though they might have clearances, they're parking boats, RVs, next to their houses if they have space. And so they might have all their vegetation, but that RV is not hardened by any means, or a boat, or any type of large structure, or a shed. And that's what's causing the houses to the fire to go house to house, is having people stuff stuff up against their houses like that. We all do it. I'm guilty as well. You have a space, you put something there, but it does cause the fires to, if they ignite, it's going to catch the house next door on fire. So that's kind of what that's looking at, the 5 feet there. That includes decks. Again, a wood fence just burns slowly and smolders all the way until it gets to the house and then catches the house on fire. And you wouldn't think about that, or wood planters or wood decks. One of the problems we were having up in Wrightwood on the fires is the rolling logs were coming down and just setting under houses' decks. And after the fire was out and gone, but you'd get a little rolling log off the hill, and then all of a sudden catch that deck on fire. And if we didn't have people out patrolling that house, once the deck gets on fire, the house is a goner. So just keeping that stuff away from your house is what's going to keep you safe. And then the fire smart landscaping. It's just fire resistant type plants. You want to avoid any flammable vegetation, the big bushy stuff, bark in your planters. I live in a high fire severity zone, and my wife, every time I turn around, she puts bark in our planters. And it's the worst thing you can have. It's just kindling sitting up against your house. And then obviously cleaning out your dead and dry plants regularly. So what we ask is just to be prepared to have meeting locations for the citizens, multiple escape routes. I referenced Wrightwood a bunch on the bridge fire. The sheriffs were able to evacuate that with the CHP immediately, and that's the only really thing that saved that town, is that community was ready for it, and they evacuated and left, and it allowed, with the smaller streets, it allowed the fire engines to actually get there and protect the houses. And so we're really trying to help educate our citizens on how important it is to leave and remove yourself from the problem area. And then obviously, if you have pet or livestock, have an evacuation plan, and really trying to get to our citizens with that as well, and setting something up, because it never fails. Obviously, people aren't going to leave their animals, and I get it, I understand. But at a certain point, we all got to go, right? So having that plan set up is a big one. That's just a quick, in a nutshell, some stuff, and I'm good to answer any questions.
All right, so thank you so much for that. And if you don't mind waiting a minute, and let's see if anybody in the public has a comment. So is there anybody in the public that might have a comment or a question?
Yes.
Where can we get the flyers for homeowners?
I have some here, and so I'll have them. Quite on for everyone, but I have some, and they can get some copies. There's also the San Luis County Fire's website. Their website, they'll have all the information on there too, on stuff like that. But I have some flyers. Yes.
Having the zero zone, like what you.
Zone 0, yes.
Does that, will that impact the insurance that we have?
So that's a big question, right? And that's a touchy one. So I can't speak for insurance specifically. I have been doing a lot of work with some insurance, committees. So what we ask is, once insurance companies aren't going to say, hey, if you do these exact things, we'll promise to offer insurance. So what we're trying to do as the fire department is really trying to educate and build a hardened community and show them that these communities are, there's also new technology out there to show fire mapping, where fires would come into communities. So new communities are going to be starting to be built where they'll harden the community, meaning put the pools or put the clubhouses and stuff where the direction of the fire is going to be coming. So what we want to try to prove to these insurance companies that we are going to take care of our homes and our surroundings, and hope, and I say hope because insurance is private for profit, and that they are going to come and start writing policies again. So Pioneer Town, if you're familiar, that they're doing the fire-wise community up there, they're working on that, and they're hoping at that point, when they're successful, become a fire-wise community, that insurance companies will come back. And again, we're hoping, and we can't guarantee, there is Title 10, I believe, that states insurance companies must give you a discount if you are a fire-wise community. However, it doesn't say they have to write you a policy, and they didn't cancel anyone, they just didn't renew it. They look fine. So I know that's dancing around a little bit. It's just, we're hoping, again, I personally live in an area that my insurance was changed to the safe, the fair plan. It's not very fair, if you're honest. So, yeah,
If someone else has a question, can you come up to the microphone and ask the question? And also if there are people online.
I speak pretty loud. Are you working with Southern California Edison on brush clearing on some of these alleys? If you notice, if you drive up some of them, you look up the alley, it's nothing but a bush and a forest running all the way down. As we know, some of these transformers are old. One of those pop and goes down. That's on that 100-foot clearance. I don't see any of that kind of happening. I was just wondering, are you working with them on that?
So we don't necessarily work together with them. They're under the same type of rules, right? So they are supposed to be abiding by the same type of clearances. So that I can't say that we're actually working with them, and you know who would be enforcing them, or I wouldn't be the one enforcing them, but they're supposed to abide by the same type of rules.
Thank you.
Anyone else online or in the public? Okay, well. Oh, yes. Yeah, I forgot. Sorry. So let's bring back to the council.
I just want to thank you, Chief Villarino, for continuing the project to bring updated infrastructure to our community, and also the board's direction that you said happened today to bring those resources, apparatus that we need, not just to help ourselves, but to help our surrounding communities and the rest of the state. The leadership that Chief Muncie's shown in allowing you to move forward with the enhancements to that facility, you know and I know that there's a lot of young men and women, and older too, that have been affected by the exposure all the years of the things that we deal with. So that's a great, great move, and I thank you for pushing that and building it into the project, and the Chief's leadership too. And one last thing, I love the Explorer program, and Chief Aguirre, I saw him come in back here. Thank you, sir, for getting those youngsters into the programs and possibly a career for them. But if anything, they're going to have good life lessons to learn through the process.
Thank you.
All right, any other council members?
Yeah, I was wondering if the county was talking about the use of fire breaks and so forth. That's maybe old fire technology. Are they bringing that subject back up?
There is quite a bit of talk about it, and it is old, but it's not, it's going to be in conjunction with other things. Some of the new technology of the fire mapping, it's about getting those fire breaks in the right spot. So as, you know, I think a lot of it is educating some of us older guys on the technology part of it with, you know, when I first started, it's like, hey, just put a bunch of breaks here and here, and we're looking at a mountain and really don't know what we're looking at other than the way a previous fire burned. So the new technology, it's showing the way a fire travels. And so the goal is to get those, not to waste energy and money of just putting a bulldozer up there and putting the fire breaks in, is making sure they're in the right place. So there is talks about it and getting through that. And again, obviously, who owns the land and if we could get there. But yes, that's not going away. It'd be in conjunction, fire breaks and fuel mitigation and reduction prior to the community. So then once you get to the hardened community, the reduction in fuels, and then with the hardened community, now we might have an area that not only can we get an insurance company to write insurance policies, but the goal is to have a safe community. God forbid we lose one of our communities anywhere in the county. Think about what's going to happen in the Palisades for the next 10 years. You got construction traffic, you got loud noise, like it's not going to be a very comfortable place to live, and we don't want that. And I think that's the goal, is if we can build a safe community along with some fuel reductions, take the insurance away from it, we just have a good place to live, right? So yes, in a long-winded, roundabout way, there is a lot of talk still about doing the proper fire breaks.
Yeah, and I see in Colorado they're dealing with the old bark beetle, the dead trees and so forth. They're starting to thin the forest and then burn those during appropriate times of the year and so forth. So just like you said, it's a multi-pronged approach to fire safety. The other question I had was the effects of the fire, such as down in Los Angeles and so forth. How did that affect our staffing out here? Is it like people come in, take over our area as you move people down there? How did you guys
Believe it or
coordinate that?
not, We didn't send as many as you would think.
Okay.
We go on request, so it's a mutual aid thing. We probably had maybe about 5 engines there, but out of this area, we only sent it was the crew from 29 Palms, and then we replaced them with the regular crew. But they were on what we call an OES type of apparatus there that goes when the state calls, and so they did respond down there, and then we didn't leave it unstaffed. We staffed it up the next day.
Okay, and then I noticed on the new fire station, it looked like fall, they were talking about putting it out to bid and so forth, maybe the fall of this next year?
I'm hoping that by the end of this year.
Okay, and then we might see construction within a year from that date?
Yeah, I don't want to
Yeah,
speak out of turn, but I believe, it's going to be about a year build. So from the time, up to the contract, from the time they get the bid and they actually break ground.
okay.
Should hopefully be a short time, but
Well, wonderful. Well, we appreciate the men and women that serve here in our community. I know you guys have a vested interest in keeping us safe, and we really appreciate our county sheriff's department as well as the fire department from the county as well. And so it's a great partnership, and we really appreciate it.
we appreciate your guys' support.
Councilmember Schooler.
Yeah, Chief, thank you for the report. One question and one comment. The question is, all the surplus equipment, that you said every fire department has that. Does it get to a point, I guess it does, that it's not worth the expense to fix them? And then what happens to the fire engines then? Or what's the replacement program?
So
generally?
there is a point that it doesn't. So a typical fire engine is supposed to go about 15 years, max of 20, into reserve status. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, depending on the mileage they put on it and the wear and tear. So when it does become too expensive to keep repairing, we'll completely get rid of it. A lot of times we surplus them down to Mexico. We have a program there that we send some down to Mexico. We've sent stuff to some of the smaller volunteer stuff across on the other side in Fort Mojave. They've taken some stuff that's still workable, but we don't want to use it anymore. Maybe it's too expensive for us, and they aren't running as many calls. So we do try to surplus it out when we can.
Okay, thank you. And then it occurred to me that maybe not everybody in the room is aware of the new fire station and how long we've been waiting for it and what the need is. But could you locate that in the community again, for everybody to tell us where it is?
So first of all, it's we got a large donation from Chad Mays, and it's been 3 or 4 years maybe now. It's been quite a while. His father could probably speak on it clearly, but it's been some time, and there was a hard time finding a piece of property. So prior to me even taking this position, I think it was a couple of years in, and that you guys had been waiting to get that. And so unfortunately what happens in that time, well, prices double for a fire station, and it doubled. The price tag went up almost double from what would have been a fire station when this originally started. And so trying to find land, and it just didn't work, what was reported down to me. We currently have dirt. We have the piece of property directly behind the current fire station, and then with your guys' help, with the town's help, we have a piece of property adjacent to that in between the library and the other strip mall there. So that's where the station will go. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, just to, so everybody's on the same page and
Yeah.
knows what to expect. And then those doors, the big doors, they face Joshua Lane then?
They will be facing Joshua, yes. So the way the station had to fit, because if you think about it, with our current fire station, we basically have a U shape of property around that small strip mall there. So it will, to put the size of fire station, it's 11 bedrooms and 3 apparatus space, so it's a big fire station. It's going to face out towards Joshua right at the turn right there.
Okay, thank you.
Question?
And Councilmember Lombardo.
Yeah, I want to thank you for making progress on this. It's been something I've been interested in for a very long time. And I saw the drawing that you had. It looks very nice, modern, it's a pretty large space and has a lot of openness to it, kind of more modern look. Will the county fire work with the town and maybe artists in town to try to beautify it or soften it some with artwork like we did at the library, just something that maybe we can get the artists interested in rotating, or maybe on one of the big blank walls, putting something that might be fire related or
Yeah, I'm
something
sure
like
that,
that?
and once the station's built on something like that, the design is completed of what it is.
Yeah.
But, on something like that, I'm sure we could work on something to.
'Cause it's
give it-
a great addition to the community, and we really appreciate all the efforts. But I just see it as a great spot maybe for some artwork. Maybe
100%.
even on a rotating basis, that would be good for the community as well.
I think so, and I think we have a great partnershp between the town and.
We always
Yucca Valley
have,
that
yeah.
I think we could easily come up with something that would make us all pretty happy.
Well, thank you.
No problem.
Appreciate your effort.
Thank you for the information, Chief.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great night. Next, we have the approval of the agenda. So would any council member like to,
Mayor, I'll make the
Move on
motion
it.
to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Councilmembers Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Droz.
yes. Next, we have the consent agenda. It's items 2 through 7, and I'll read this. All items listed on the consent agenda are routine matters or formal documents covering previous town council instruction. Items are enacted by one motion and a second without separate discussion unless a member of the town council or town staff requests dialogue on a specific item at the beginning of the meeting. Requests for public comment on the consent agenda should be filed with the town clerk. So is there anyone in the public that would like to make a comment on the consent agenda? Anyone online? Okay, let's bring it back to the council. Anyone want to pull anything to talk about, or you want to make a motion?
Mayor, if there's no discussion, I'd like to go ahead and move the consent agenda as presented, items 2 through 7.
All second?
Councilmembers Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Droz.
Yes. Next, we move on to item number 8, under department reports. Approval of agreement for governmental relations services.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The recommended action before you this evening is that the council approves an agreement for governmental relations services with Capital Advocacy, establishing the written fee agreement and setting forth the scope of services and fees to be charged for those town governmental relations services, and authorizing the town manager to execute the agreement for services using the town's standard professional services agreement. As the council knows, the town has contracted for governmental relations services in the past, mostly at the federal level. There have been a number of times in those past years where council members and staff traveled to Washington, D.C. as this organization attempted to obtain financial resources for infrastructure within this community. Town has not done that for some time, and with the changes that have taken place in the administration in Washington, D.C., and with new regulations in Sacramento that are having a very large impact on Yucca Valley, the recommended action this evening is to reinitiate those governmental relations services. The recommendation this evening is for entering into that contract with Capital Advocacy for both state and federal governmental relations. The estimated cost for the remainder of the current fiscal year is right at $42,500, which can be accommodated in the adopted fiscal year budget. The draft agreement is attached to your staff report this evening, as well as the scope of services. And I believe we have online this evening the partner with Capital Advocacy, Chad Mays, as well as the other representative designated for the town, Sam Mahood. At this point, I'd like to open it up for Chad and his team to make any comments that they would like to make before opening this up for public comments.
Well, I will just start off. Hello, Mayor and Council. It is wonderful to be with all of you this evening. I have had the distinct honor of spending a lot of time in those council chambers, but I have to tell you, this is a first for me. I've never been in the council chambers via Zoom. So again, it is great to be with all of you. I wish I could be with all of you tonight, but I had to be up here in Sacramento for work. I know you've got your proposal in front of you and the contract in front of you as well. I can give you a formal presentation that we've got. Shane, I guess I should look for some guidance from you, or we can just, Sam and I can answer any questions that you might have.
I think just if there's any questions that the council has this evening, they've had the opportunity to review the scope of services and the agreement. So after public comment on this, then would be an appropriate time for the council to ask any questions.
Right, so item number 8, does anybody in the public, being either online or in person, have any comments or questions on this subject? Okay, I see and hear none, so let's bring it back to the council. So do any council members have questions or comments? Let's start with Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I'm Chad. Good evening. Thank you for visiting us via Zoom. And of course, we'd love to see you in person, and we'll have that opportunity in the future. But we're looking forward to, I'm looking forward to moving forward with this agreement. I think it's long overdue, and I think the residents of Yucca Valley need to have your services to help us move forward. So appreciate you being here tonight. Look forward to moving this forward.
Thank you, council member.
Any other council members want to speak on this? No? You want to? Or?
I'd just like to also, once again, thank you, Chad, for the work you're doing up there in Sacramento. Looking to working with you, looking forward to it for you and Sam on some of the things that we're trying to achieve in our community. We do need some representation up there that's closer to some of the decisions that are made at a state level and also the federal level too. So thank you for that. We'll look forward to having many discussions in the near future on these items.
Councilmember Lombardo.
Yeah, excuse me. Hello, Chad. I just want to thank you for your effort on this and for Sam. We're looking forward to working with you. I think it is something that the town will definitely benefit from. We need some advocacy in both the state and the federal government to smooth over some of the problems that have been created and that we need to get addressed. And appreciate your efforts into this. Thank you.
And I want to say thank you, Chad. We know, I mean, of course, I agree with this because I know that your heart and soul is in Yucca Valley. It always has been. So you've been such a benefit. I don't know if you were online earlier, but your name was mentioned with the fire station. So you've done so much for Yucca Valley, and we can't have a better advocate than you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to say it's great to be able to see some renderings of that fire station. So I'm glad that's that's on its way. So it's great it'll be great when that's built.
Thank you, Chad.
If there's no other discussion, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agreement.
Second.
Council members Abel.
Yes.
Dennison.
Yes.
Lombardo.
Yes.
Schooler.
Yes.
And Mayor Droz.
Yes. Now we're moving on to item 9, development of a town farmers market event.
Yes, Mayor and Council. This item is a follow-up to the discussions we had about farmers market events and the interest from the community in this type of event. This is just a discussion item. We'd like to capture the council's vision for this type of community event, so it's a conceptual discussion to help us go through some of the details in hopes of moving towards an event like this. So I'd like to introduce Recreation Supervisor in charge of events, Clayton Reardon, and we'll also maybe lean on our Deputy Town Manager if there's any technical questions as well. Welcome.
Thanks, Sue. Mayor, Council. So what we have before you tonight is the development for a town farmers market. The recommendation before you is that the town council provide initial direction on a preferred farmers market event concept to be used in the development of an RFP for an entity to operate a certified farmers market in Yucca Valley. First, I want to just run through, got a couple different, it's packaged with a handful of different sections. So the first one is market structure and scope. Really talks about whether or not the town council wants to provide direction on a certified farmers market versus a hybrid or a thematic focus. So the staff recommendation on this would be to include a certified farmers market. Shane, did you want to talk a little bit about the difference between a certified farmers market and some of the other options and the way things can kind of devolve if you don't have some kind of certification attached to that?
At a very high level, a certified farmers market as defined by state law is one where the farmers are bringing their products directly to the market. And that requires county agricultural commissioner, county offices approval. And so a certified market is definitely segregated from other type of markets that exist out there. And that's one of the things that makes a market attractive is that certification and those farmers bringing their products directly to the market.
And then a key piece of this is location and schedule. Are we talking about a town-owned property? Is this something that would be entirely on private property through a partnership? And then what's the schedule look like? Is this a seasonal farmers market? Is this year-round? Evenings, weekends? Where does this best fit into the puzzle with some of the other farmers markets going on in the Morongo Basin and just general availability of some of these different spaces? The recommendation is that we would use the Old Town parking event space that's currently under development, kind of adjacent Luna Bakery and Elk. Once that's done, staff recommend using that as the location. The next step is vendor selection. So vendor selection criteria, other farmers markets have local farmers, they have food trucks or other kinds of prepared foods that are ready to eat right away at the market. Do we want to require the operator or the entity to accept SNAP and EBT, some sort of benefit eligibility for those fresh produce vendors? And is this the kind of farmers market where the council envisions non-food vendors, crafts, small businesses, other things? And is there a percentage? Do you want it to primarily be farmers? Do you want it to really feel like a farmers market, 80, 90%? Or is there even a breakdown or something where you would see this being a farmers market? And then lastly, operational management. What's the operator model look like? So as we go out with an RFP, is this ultimately managed by the town, by staff? Are we overseeing operations? Or alternatively, is this a third-party operator? Are we going out with an RFP and the respondent would be the person operating the market, coordinating vendors, and all of the other details necessary to operate the farmers market? And the staff recommendation on this is that we engage a third-party operator with limited town sponsorship. So, and the next step, based on council's input tonight, staff will prepare an RFP for approval and release. Sample RFPs were included in the staff report, and I would be happy to answer any questions following public comment.
Thank you, Clayton. So now let's turn it to the public. Is there anyone in the public, online or in person, that would like to make a comment or have a question? No?
Oh, I'm surprised.
So let's bring it back to the council. And if I could start on this, I'd like to start on this first. I have no problem with SNAP and EBT. As far as the crafts issue, I was in contact with someone that runs a farmer's market. And I think we discussed like having a 75% limit, that would be the farmer's market foods, and the other stuff could be crafty and whatever, as long as it doesn't look like a swap meet. But I guess there's a third category, because from what I'm reading, if this is true, produce is fruits, vegetables, farm products, including honey, eggs, mushrooms, and flowers. So that's at the top. And at the bottom, we have, homemade crafts and stuff like that. But in the middle, what's not accepted by, the certified farmers market is orange juice, like fresh squeezed orange juice, bread, nuts, cookies, baked goods, spreads, dips, salsas, guacamole, and then hot food like burritos, tamales, and stuff like that. So I don't know if there's a third category or not, if I'm understanding that correctly, but I want to throw that out there before we start commenting, because maybe it should be lower than 75%. So we can include all those other things like beef jerky and guacamole and orange juice and stuff like that. So I'm really not clear on it. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to say that. So do any other council members have questions or comments?
Yeah, I like the idea of a third-party vendor. I think that's important. We don't want to overtax the staff. And I think you'll get a more, you'll get somebody that knows how to organize those types of people, which has got to be kind of difficult, because if it's a farmer's market and it have to be the farmer bringing the produce, they're going to have to come from quite a ways away, because we don't have a lot of farms right close in. So, but I do like the idea of it. Hey, I do like it being certified. And am I correct in understanding that it can be certified if there's a certain percentage of non-produce things, or is it only farmer-brought produce to be a certified farmer's market?
I'm not familiar enough with the certification. I could find out and
Okay.
send you with answers. Unless, yeah.
I'm hoping that there's some kind of flexibility there where we could have, like we discussed, some handcrafted items, maybe homemade salsas and breads and that sort of thing done as well. So I think it's important to maintain some flexibility. If you want to put percentages on it, I'd be in favor of, somewhere between 75 and 60%, and allowing some of the other things to be present. I do like the idea of the area that we're building in Old Town. I think that's an ideal location, and when it's completed, all the different phases of construction, I think it'll be great. So,
one of the things the council may want to think about as you're walking through these policy points is farmers sell when they're grouped together with other large number of farmers.
Gotcha.
When you start diluting that ratio, are their sales going to go down, and is it going to become worth their time to drive from San Diego to this area for an event?
That's a big consideration.
And so that's kind of one of the key policy discussion points for the council this evening is, and we understand there's a desire for all kinds of special events in this community, but as a kickoff point, what does the council want to use as kicking off this process? Is it a farmer's market, or is it a combination of a number of different things occurring at one time? So anyway, that's something you need to keep in mind, is there has to be a profitability for the farmers to come here, and that mix can affect that.
And there's nothing that stops us from having a farmer's market once a month and then having a crafts fair once a month, or a bread and salsa contest or something like that, right? Those can all be done, but the farmer's market being certified, they have to be the farmers themselves bringing the produce. It's not somebody going down to the grocery store and buying a lug of potatoes. Okay, got it.
All right. I'll have to try bread and salsa instead of chips.
Hey,
I'm just kidding. I know what you meant. Anyway, over here, anybody want to comment? Councilmember Schooler.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm in favor of the certified. I think last time we talked about this, the definition was acceptable, and the percentage was explained to us that it wasn't like 70% of the vendors had to be farmers, but 70% of the space had to be farmers or vegetables or something like that.
That's correct.
And the remaining vendors would be, I forget what they said, make it bake it, shake it, or something. There was some, but that sounded good, just to keep it from being like a swap meet atmosphere. So I think the definition for certified that we had last time we talked about it was good. As for the location, I think when we started that project in Old Town, that parking lot project, a good portion of the impetus for that was to create a venue for a farmer's market and other events. So I think I would be in favor of the town not operating it. The town can oversee it and partner in it, but not operating it, and let people that know what they're doing, experts in farmers markets, submit RFPs. And they could tell us. There was a question about should it be seasonal or should it be year-round, every week, whatever. I kind of think the market would tell us that, and the vendors would tell us that in their proposals, and not that we would want to compete with other farmers markets in the area necessarily and be at the exact same time, but maybe they have a feel for it as to what would be a good day, for us to do it there, and whether it'd be good to be every week or every month or I don't think we have an off season here for that. I think we have enough visitors from like September to May, and then summertime seems like a good season for locals to enjoy that. So I'm not sure there's a bad season for it, but again, we're not the experts on that. So yeah, I'm in favor of going ahead with it. Was there any other questions that we needed to chime in on? That I think that's my input anyway, so I'll come back if need be.
Councilmember Dennison.
Yeah, thank you, Clay, for the presentation. So I think one of the things, was one of the most popular items that we found out from the community through our strategic plans, and was over 90% of one of the items that people wanted. And out of that 90%, almost all of it was very much wanted, and not just, kind of liked it as far as their interest. But I think when we're looking at preference towards experienced or the type of vendors, I am a little bit in the mayor's camp where I don't know where the line blurs, because I've been to a lot of farmers markets, and generally I understand that if it's organically grown or certified, fruits, vegetables, and then we blur into the areas of nuts and then breads and then, baked goods. I don't know where that is. Is that off? It would seem like if we're going to look at the 70-30 split, that we have to have a line in the sand somewhere. But I don't want it to get down to the end where many have already made the comment of a garage or a swap meet, that, whether they're selling unicycles and yo-yos, we're not looking for that. But then if you're looking, is there a vendor there that's selling, handmade grocery bags so you can go in and buy the vegetables? How do these things all marry each other, and is there just a distinct area? But I think Councilmember Schooler said the 70-30, I think, is as presented, is a really good starting point. We have the ability to fluctuate with that as we see demand or desire from the community. Really, they have their hand on the rudder. That's how we got here. We want to make sure that we allow them to be participants in it. But we do need to start somewhere, and I think it's going to be a lot harder to roll it back in if we have to undo something than it is to try and learn and figure out how the process works and how it's accepted by the community, and then maybe we could change that line. But I would like to see maybe the middleware where that is and how that works. If we do go down the road further to allow other types of vendors to start to consume some of that 70%, I'd like to be prepared for it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I have one more question, and thank you, Councilmember. The question is, what if does this preclude somebody from, if they wanted to use the High Desert Star parking lot, the old High Desert Star, applying to a farmer's market there? So there would be two going on at one time. How is that addressed? Do we have any idea?
That would go, so those applications go through community development. So Shane, do you?
So that's established in your development code under the regulations for farmers markets.
Okay, yeah, we just went over that, so, okay, great. And let's see here. So I guess that's it. Oh, sorry. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm agreeing with the council, definitely third party, getting a vendor that knows and has been successful. We're going to have to leave it up to the vendor to really propose their farmer's market concept. Ideally, they would pick a time or date or consistency that's going to make it successful. They know the farmers that participate. They know their availability. I know that any business that you look in town that are consistent with their hours and when you know they're going to be there, you can count on going and you make plans on going. You decide I'm going to go down and get some flowers on that day because I know they're going to be there. It's not hit and miss. So having a consistent farmer's market is wonderful. I want to make sure that also as the vendor decides and propose to us the appropriate times and dates, that they also will propose, and we have requirements for safety, because safety is highly important. We've had events before where there's easy ups that blown away and cause havoc, and it is on town property, so they would have to carry insurance. The vendor would also have to carry insurance and also require each and every farmer to carry insurance, and that would protect not only them but also the town. So I would definitely make that a requirement that any farmer's market, certified farmer's market, would carry the adequate insurance, protecting not only themselves, but also the town itself. The other thing is that, so safety issues are like, what kind of easy ups are they using, how many pounds that they're using to weigh them down, all those kinds of things that are important. The other important thing is keeping it a certified farmer's market, because we have produce in grocery stores. People need the alternative for actually farm fresh food being brought up. We're not in competition with, Staters and Walmart and the others that sell produce. This has got to be set apart and unique. So certified farmers market would be the only farmer market I would really support. And I do agree that we can do other events that have other concepts and other goods and so forth, but the 70%, I'm very much in favor of that. You want that to be the vast majority of what you're experiencing when you're there. So hopefully that's enough feedback for the staff.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So does that give you enough direction to go by?
Sue or Clayton, do you guys want to kind of just real quick run through the policy direction you've heard from the council this evening?
Sure.
Absolutely.
So what we heard from the council tonight is we want a proposal for a certified farmer's market at a 70-30 split or thereabouts. The proposal should, the RFP should be from an experienced or successful operator, and they should be the one who provides defines the time and frequency, what they recommend. Also, make sure that they cover safety precautions, including the specifications of the installation of booths and things like that. Make sure that the visitors are going to be in a safe environment, and also that they cover other safety precautions such as insurance and making sure their vendors are insured, and all of those vendor requirements as well.
Preferred location?
Preferred location, yes, is the old town parking and event space.
And then flexibility for the future. I think everyone, at least on the staff level, understands the council desire to have additional special events occurring in the community and to watch, monitor, and report back when we see those additional opportunities or modifications to the program as it starts out. That's what staff has heard from the council this evening.
Perfect, thank you. So you have enough direction, so I guess that's it. Thanks so much, Clayton and Sue. So now we have item number 10, High Desert Nature Museum Strategic Plan 2024 through 2028.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is an exciting item for us, and I'd like to introduce Celeste Hildebrand, our museum supervisor, to review the strategic plan.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight. I am presenting to you the High Desert Nature Museum Strategic Plan for 2024 to 2028. The mission statement remains the same. The High Desert Nature Museum is dedicated to the process of education by exploring the natural, artistic, and cultural heritage of the Morongo Basin and High Desert. The museum seeks to inspire wonder, discovery, understanding, and responsibility in its community and visitors through exhibitions, programs, and collections in the arts, history, and natural sciences. So as we began researching and creating this plan, museum staff came up with 6 organizational values that we felt were important. These drive the strategy and decision-making for the museum, and that is public service, responsibility, collaboration, inclusion, engagement, and education. The vision for the High Desert Nature Museum for 2024 to 2028 is to increase the museum's presence as an educational and cultural resource within the community. So these values and vision will be evident throughout all of the goals and strategies that I'll be presenting to you tonight. So a summary of the strategic goals. Goal 1 is to develop meaningful experiences for museum visitors. Goal 2 is to increase community partnerships through engagement and collaboration. Goal 3 is a focused museum collection curation. And goal 4 is to update the High Desert Nature Museum facilities, equipment, and branding. Now, because this plan covers 2024 to 2028, some of these goals we've already started implementing due to the 60th anniversary that occurred last October. We've also been increasing our exhibit interpretation and expanding programming. So as we developed these goals, staff collaborated and we looked at we did internal museum surveys for community members. We also looked at the American Alliance of Museums National Museum Goers Survey, which they do annually. They get over 100,000 responses on their survey. And we also looked at our own individual museums' needs. Something to note is that these goals also would need to be implemented before we look at any sort of accreditation, which I know has been asked about in the past. So for goal 1, developing meaningful experiences for museum visitors, we have 4 strategies. So the first is to increase our current exhibit interpretation. We've already started this by updating our geology and diorama exhibits, as well as our homesteading exhibit, which we've added all new interpretation for. We still want to update our mining, fluorescence, fossils, and entomology exhibits. We want to expand our programming. Again, we've already started this. We want to make sure that we're including a diverse demographic. So we're not just catering towards children or our seniors, but we want to make sure that we are providing programming that hits a diverse demographic of our community members. We want to make sure our mission-driven exhibit selection, so that refers to our temporary exhibits that are being displayed in our rotating exhibit space, that those are mission-driven and that they have something to do with the Morongo Basin or the High Desert. And then finally, Kids Corner development. Currently, that space is geared towards imaginative play for children ages 2 to 6, but we want to expand that to include more science-based activities that would also be appropriate for children up to 12 years old.
Nice.
So goal number 2 is to increase our community partnerships through engagement and collaboration. So one strategy to do this would be to revamp our current sponsorship program. Our membership program right now currently provides benefits for programs that no longer exist. So we want to make sure that we update that and that we're providing benefits for community members, whether it be through individual program sponsorships or we're already free, so we can't offer that as a benefit, but looking at what we can provide to donors. We want to host and participate community events with like-missioned organizations. So as an example, we are bringing back our Earth Day event this year. We have reached out to other community organizations to see if they are wanting to participate. And then we are also participating in some of their events that they have coming up to build that partnership again. And finally, we would like to establish a pilot program with the Morongo Unified School District to where we do a grade level district-wide program, ensuring that every student before they leave elementary school has visited the museum. Goal 3 is our focused museum collection curation. So the first strategy is to update our collection records database. Currently, only approximately 30 to 40% of our museum collections are in the electronic database. This makes it difficult when we are wanting to curate our own exhibits. So that would be coming up with a plan to update that and make sure that we have 100% in our electronic database. We also want to make sure that our collection is strategically curated to fit the mission of the museum. We want to create a plan for NAGPRA. NAGPRA is the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. This was established in 1990. It facilitates the respectful return of human remains and funerary objects to Native American tribes. In January of 2024, the final act was put through, which expanded the vocabulary of this. It also expanded the act to include objects of cultural patrimony, which are objects that have a cultural, historical, or traditional importance to a tribe. So our plan would be to establish what items in our collection fall under that plan and go through the appropriate channels to either receive permission from a lineal descendant to display that object or repatriate it back to the tribe. And then finally, collection maintenance. This is ensuring that our items are in a temperature and humidity controlled environment. So finally, goal 4 is to update our High Desert Nature Museum facilities, equipment, and branding. The first strategy is to increase our backyard usability for programs and events. We currently have a fenced-in backyard area that staff use, but it's not suitable for any kind of programs or events. It would need to have a storage shed replaced and to also be cleaned up to the point where we could use it for things like our children's summer camp, where they're doing activities that are messy, can't be done in the museum for whatever reason, and we can take them to that secured space to do those activities. We want to modernize our mini zoo by replacing any of the enclosures that are in need of repair. Develop a plan for our permanent outdoor space. This would include expanding that exterior courtyard so that it can be used for receptions, lectures, even just a nice place for visitors to go outside and relax, as well as having more permanent outdoor classroom and storage space. And then also logo and marketing redesign. This we actually already started, as many of you have seen already. We did, for the museum's 60th anniversary, a logo redesign. So we have our new logo as well as some exterior wall signage and street banners. So for the strategic plan, museum staff were all participating in it, as well as Town of Yucca Valley staff. We also had Charla Fox, the director of the La Quinta Museum, which is a museum similar in scope and size to ours, review it. Ed Kiesling, a commissioner on the Parks and Recreation and Cultural Commission. We consulted the National Museum Survey, which had over 100,000 responses. We did our own local community surveys over 2023 and 2024. And we consulted the Town of Yucca Valley strategic plan as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And the recommendation, we request that the council accept the recommendation of the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Commission and approve the High Desert Nature Museum strategic plan for 2024 to 2028.
Thank you, Celeste.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. So now let's see if we have any public comment. So is there anyone in the public, online or in person, that would like to, has a question or would like to comment? No one? Okay, let's bring it back to the council. So let's start on the right.
Impressive report. Thank you for all that. I think it's really important in having the four-year plan, right?
Yes.
I like that idea because it takes a while to get things rolling. But you seem well on your way already, and the 60th anniversary was quite the successful event, and I think we've got a real treasure here in the museum, and it's nice to see that you're thinking forward and ways to improve it. I love the diagrams of that courtyard. Oh my gosh. Are we going to be able to do something like that in our
I hope
space?
so.
Oh, baby.
The fiscal impacts, budgetary requirements, and measures of outcome are all listed in the plan as well, so.
All right. That's awesome. Okay, I'm very impressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, no. On the left, anybody? Councilmember Schooler.
Yeah, Celeste, thank you for that. You've done a remarkable job of, and you and the staff, of continuing the work of previous museum staff and carrying out their mission, but also integrating a lot of innovation. And I think it's just been amazing to see what you do, and the events are top notch. The exhibits in there look really good. I really like the vision for the backyard, the outdoor space. It's pretty hard to not like that. That's really good. And I know space has always been a problem at the museum to do everything that you want to do. So I like kind of taking that footprint that we have, but kind of making use of the outdoor space to basically expand the space. So I think that's good. Can you elaborate on the accreditation issue a little bit?
Sure.
Are we not accredited? Have we ever been accredited?
No, we're not. There's only 4% of museums nationwide are accredited through the AAM. Typically, a lot of museums who rely on, that are nonprofits and rely on donor contributions, those ones typically tend to be the ones that try to get accreditation. Mayor Pro Tem Abel in the past had asked about that as well. So looking into it and researching it, there are things that we would have to do before we apply for any kind of accreditation. It is an expensive process, so we don't want to apply for it, spend the money, and then not be successful because we didn't have these things in place. So some of the things, such as our museum storage room for our collection, it needs to be temperature controlled but also humidity controlled. So that's something that we're working on right now, especially that humidity component of it. So there are things in place, and there is a program you can apply for. That's a year-long program if you feel like there's a section that you want to work on, whether it's programming or collections, where they will work with you and work with other small museums to come do a peer evaluation of your museum. But again, it is expensive to participate in that process, so we just want to make sure that we have everything organized before we do that.
Okay, well, I like that you're engaged in the process, and whether we're accredited or not, I think we serve the community in a really special way with the museum. And I would encourage everybody, if you haven't been over to the museum, it's right behind us here, to go there and find out what it's about and attend some of the events and lectures. It's remarkable. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dennison.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. It was great, and it always is. There's a lot of creativity and a lot of use of our commission and other advisors to get us in a place where I think it's a great benefit for the community. You talk here about developing meaningful experiences. You are delivering meaningful experiences. To expand on those, I can see your vision through the presentation. One thing that stuck in me was your field trip program in partnership with the Morongo Basin Unified School District. That's great. I think it is a good opportunity for kids to see outside of the classroom once in a while, and that there's a much larger experience out there. So that one I'm very excited about. I understand your digital collection. That's one way you could really expand the breadth of the museum to get beyond when people don't have the capability to get here, and they could experience some of those things, maybe event by event. Eventually they'll get caught up. But I'd be in full support of that program to get it to where it's digitized and put in there, because that really is a way for more participation. And you mentioned again the storage and the need for facility updates and creating more space. Even though you have the space, it's been consumed by a storage container of some type. So that's another thing that I would support, because those are easy things to probably accomplish and start to get in the right direction, at least start planning for it. And I kind of like the mini zoo, that it will be something that is growing and becoming more prevalent as a display there. So that's pretty neat. But yeah, good outreach for those, young kids from 2 to 6 and even up to 12 you talked about. I think that's one of the biggest things we can do. So thank you for the work.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I guess that's it. And I have to say, I really love my T-shirt with the new logo. It's one of my
Good.
favorite shirts.
We've had overwhelmingly positive feedback on the new logo and T-shirt and sweatshirts.
It's really groovy.
Yeah.
Here, one more thing. I did want to say this, Celeste, is that
Yes.
during the presentation, you had shown some of the branding of the other museums.
Oh.
Ours is much more, I guess, creative and modern. I don't know how you would explain it. I'm not the art person.
Right.
But I love my T-shirt, and everyone thinks it's amazing. But the Roadrunner with his head turned around, you got to look twice to actually figure out that puzzle that it actually is a Roadrunner, and it looks super
Right.
cool.
Well, and I think our previous logo was 17 years old, so it was definitely time for a revamp. So I'm glad that it's well received.
It is. It's great. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Celeste.
Thank you.
So, would anyone like to move to accept the recommendation of the PRCC?
I'll move. So moved.
Second.
Councilmembers Abel.
Yes.
Dennison.
Yes.
Lombardo.
Yes.
Schooler.
Yes.
And Mayor Droz.
Yes. Now we move on to item number 11, Public Arts Program, Temporary Art Installation, Library Plaza.
Yes, Mayor and Council, you're sort of familiar with this item. We had our inaugural placement of art at the library last year. Then the Christmas tree went back up, and now we're with you again to select another piece of art to go there temporarily. Clayton, would you like to make your presentation?
Absolutely. Thank you. Mayor, Honorable Council, so before you tonight, we have a recommendation that the council approve and accept the recommendation of the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Commission for the submission of Chad Lefevre piece, Where Is My Mind, as the art installation for the public art program for the YV Branch Library art installation. This is a rendering of of the sculpture on the site, so little Photoshop so you get an idea of what we're looking at. This is the piece as submitted by the artist. He was going to be here tonight, emailed me this afternoon and let me know that something came up and he was going to be unavailable, but he did want to say thank you for the opportunity and he regrets not being here. So this is bronze and waxed. The patina and everything is part of the sculpture, and he has a number of these that he's done as as public art pieces across the country. So these are some of the other pieces, a parent and a child playing with a flower, multiple people, multiple colors on the wall. And then we had the comments from the PRCC. So it's an opportunity to see where they had what they had to say about this. Commissioner Kiesling said that he liked the way it looked on the plaza pad. It has a nice strong presence and it is thought-provoking. Commissioner Rauch agreed with Commissioner Kiesling. He liked the theme of this submission since it's on the pad at the library, the brain, thinking about where's my mind. The artist at the PRCC meeting went into some depth about how he often finds himself, interrupted at work and trying to come back to it and trying to figure out where he was and what he's doing, and he feels like just kind of overwhelmed and brain not functioning correctly. So at the library, mind connected to the artwork. He thought this would work great. Commissioner Rauch also thought that another one would have stood out as Jeff Lee's submission. Commissioner Staley agreed that it makes sense for the placement at the library. And then Vice Chair Brady said that he was glad he extended the deadline. He likes another one of the pieces and encourages him to submit more, but Where's My Mind was the perfect fit for the library. Again, that mind-library connection, and he thanked everyone for applying. So we had 13 public comments during the public comment period. Most of them were positive. We had a few dissenters that thought that it was a little bit out of place. And then again, the public art program recommendation, that you accept the PRCC's recommendation and move Chad's Where Is My Mind as the art installation for 2025 at the library.
Thank you. Now we're going to open it up to the public. So is there anybody in the public online or in person that would like to make a comment or have a question on this? Okay, no one? So we'll bring it back to the council. I'd like to start with one question. If this is approved tonight, when would it be installed?
So next steps, we'd work with community development, building safety, engineering, make sure that the fasteners and everything's up to their standard. So we get the artist involved, we get staff involved. Last year, I think it took about 3.5 to 4 weeks to get everything done, get it over there, and get the piece bolted down.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the council that would like to make a comment? So let's start with Councilmember Schooler.
Yeah, Clayton, I might have seen this somewhere, but how tall is this piece?
The bronze part of the statue is about 6 feet tall, plus the black base, which I believe is like 34 to 36 inches. So it's about 9 feet tall, all in all.
Okay, thank you. And then what's the orientation of it? Where would the brain point?
The staff's intention was the staff's intention was to work with the artist on orientation. Knee-jerk reaction was to have the brain and the statue essentially facing the library so that that's the most accessible side, so anybody that wants to come over and see the piece, that it would be facing that direction so they'd have best access.
Okay, and do we have lighting for that when that gets installed?
We have some removable solar lighting, but there's nothing permanent over there. The temporary lighting tends to disappear from time to time. So but we had lighting out there for the last piece.
Okay, and then it goes in 3 or 4 weeks, and then how long is it there for?
This year, it went from the end of February, last year. 2024, it was there from the end of February, the last week, until I believe it was somewhere around November 18th to 22nd, when it was removed, the tree went in just 5 or 6 days later.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, appreciate the work of the PRCC and staff on this and all the public comments. I think it'll probably look pretty good over there.
Councilmember Dennison.
Yeah, thank you to the PRCC for the work. This is a difficult decision. All the submissions were incredible. It shows since Gubby Beck had her art displayed last year, is that correct?
Correct.
It really kind of, I guess, brought it to light for the artists in town, and everyone's trying to outdo each other every year, which is kind of art in its own way. Where Is My Mind caught my eye, but I really did enjoy the one by Chad Lefevre also, where the child was inquisitive and looking at the flower being presented. I think that was a passing of knowledge in a way, where this one presents itself, Where Is My Mind, but also pondering, I guess, of ideas. But both of them are very good, and thank you for the hard work and the commission for their hard work in making this decision, because every artist that came forward and put in the time to submit something, all of them were quality and all of them were thought-provoking, and I think they meet the intent of our public art display. And one other thing is, so as the displays come on, as last year's art is retired, and the new piece comes on this year, what happens to the old art? Do we have an area where we would start to display these things, or does it go back to the artist?
They go back to the artist. They're on loan for the duration of the period. So the application agreement outline the scope of what this program looks like. So the artist comes, so in the case of Infinite Connection by Gubby Beck, mid to late November, we set a date and time, removed the installation. She brought a truck and trailer and took it back with her. So other programs like this, those pieces can be for sale in a gallery. They can even be up for sale while they're on display as a piece of public art. And at the end of that tenure, they go back to the artist to proceed with however they had planned on using that piece of art.
Okay. Because I remember that quite a while ago, we started this conversation, and Mayor Pro Tem Abel had brought up, a lot of the benefits of public art displays, and it even talked about art in different areas of our community. So I would look at that as we see things that kind of make a mark in the community and it's accepted and put on display. We start to look at the artists too, maybe to pursue that original proposal. So thank you.
Councilmember Lombardo.
It is a very difficult decision to make. Art is so subjective, but I think the entrance in this one were exceptional, and there were some really good choices some tough choices to make. I think that you chose a good one. It does evoke a lot of contemplation and kind of raises different thoughts when looking at it. And I very much approve of it. I'm looking forward to it. I also like the size of it. I think will be beneficial. It'll be eye-catching from a distance, which I think is will be beneficial for it as well. And it ties in with the library, like everybody has talked about, very well. And I think you made a very good choice. And I'm in favor of what the commission has chosen.
And Mayor Pro Tem Abel.
Yeah, I want to thank Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Commission for their hard work. Appreciate it. And yes, I'm glad to see something that's a little bit more girthy that you can actually enjoy. The other art was beautiful, but it sort of got lost because of the lack of size. It is also amazing that we got such a quality artist to submit. And I think, as Councilmember Dennison said, this is part of the process. We get exposed to particular artists, and we can have the option later on to either purchase pieces permanently somewhere in the town, or perhaps commission that particular artist to do something that we sort of enjoyed seeing. And to see Chad Lefevre, the quality of what he does, and also to see how many of his pieces are now permanent pieces in Colorado and back east and so forth, that a lot of communities have commissioned him or have had his permanent display of his bronze sculptures is pretty impressive. So to get that kind of quality sculpture to come and present one. I also noticed that this particular piece was already sort of on a trial run with the Ontario Arts Festival, and so they got a lot of feedback, a lot of exposure down there as well. And then if you look on his website, there shows a lot of his process of putting those things together. Again, it's a wonderful piece. It has a little bit of thought-provoking ideas to it. I could see that same piece holding a book in front of the library, like if we wanted to commission that same artist to do something in that. I also was very impressed, like we saw in that women and child's shelter, where the mother was holding the flower and the child was up and looking at the flower. Absolutely gorgeous, over the top, beautiful. But I think it'd be great to have this out there on display. I'd like to see some type of permanent lighting figured out, because this isn't the only time we're going to have art out there, so it'd be nice to have something permanent out there as well. I also like that you guys commission a plaque for the artists to be able to take with them as a memento of them being part of Yucca Valley's art exhibit. So all those are wonderful things, and I want to again thank the Park, Recreation, and Cultural Commission for doing a fine job. I'd like to move the item.
All right, thank you, Clayton. We appreciate it. And so we have somebody that moved to accept the recommendation of the PRCC. Okay.
Dennison will second.
Nice.
Councilmembers Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Droz.
Yes. And this is the last regular item on the agenda before we move on. But we have item number 12, Spring Summer 2025 Community Services Plan Program. And this is another PRCC item. So let's.
Working hard.
Yes.
That Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Commission really working really hard. We have 2 new members. So we just finished their orientation, so we're going to have a great time with them on our commission. I'll do this quickly. You guys, the council is aware of this. This is an item that comes to you twice a year, our program review. So the recommendation is that the town council accept the recommendation of the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Commission and approve the spring/summer 2025 planned programs organized and conducted by the Community Services Department. And of course, these are all of our programs that go in our spring/summer guide. So this is a fall/winter guide. There'll be a spring/summer one as well. I'll just go through these really quickly. Our enrichment classes, Lego engineering, dog obedience, ceramics workshop. Lego engineering and ceramics workshop are new. Dog obedience is a returning class, all very, very popular. We just want to let you know that we're building up our enrichment classes and with a particular emphasis on art, by the way. Senior center programs, today we reopened here at the former library space up at Town Hall. So all of our senior center programs are transferred here to the community center and to the location up there, including the lunch and all of the exercise classes. So we're functioning now. We're reopened, and come visit us. We facility staff and senior center staff did a wonderful job moving the operations. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate FSA, the senior lunch provider, in continuing to serve the lunch over here. 6 concerts, holiday events, H2O, movies in the courtyard. We added some more special events. The murder mystery dinner we brought back. We added a musical theater dinner. We seem to really sell out these sort of evening events. And Youth Commission is underway. They have a work plan that includes a lot of different programs. They're going to be running a senior dance here pretty soon in March. Adult softball is growing. We're also adding adult drop-in basketball to prepare for a lot of these programs. We're preparing to transition to the new rec center. New fitness programs, we've got kids rhythm and bop. We've got adult expressive movement. So our recreation supervisor in charge of sports and wellness, Kuba Kuzmarek, is really working hard, adding in those fitness classes. He's also started a very robust pickleball program where he's doing tournaments, where he's continuing his ladder league, his skills clinic. He's added morning sessions, and this summer he's going to add youth programs for pickleball as well. Summer sports clinics, will retain many of those. We have the summer volleyball clinic that's very popular. What's great about these programs is we do them in partnership with the schools. So the high school varsity team helps us from Yucca Valley High School with that volleyball clinic. And then Cuba has developed a really good partnership with CMC and their basketball coaching staff that allows for really high quality basketball clinic. So that's a very popular program. It's going to continue this year. We have a new program, Triple Play Kids Academy, for ages 3 to 6, offering Saturday sessions, and they'll do multiple sports and rotate through the different sports for these young children. And again, our runs will continue. Aquatics, we'll continue to expand that. We've basically used up every minute of our 8 weeks that we're in the pool. We've added Saturdays. This year we're planning to add preseason. So we want to add a preseason youth competitive swim training program and preseason lap swim. So we'll be using some pool time that used to be used by the recreational club team and see if we can expand our programs outside of our 8-week normal session. High Desert Nature Museum, Celeste kind of talked about that. If you haven't seen our exhibit that's on display right now, you want to get over there, and that ends March 15th. And then From Waste to Wonder comes in, our recycled art exhibition. It's in its 19th year. Then we have our interactive summer children's exhibit. So that's going to be Leonardo's Lab. We always have a really big hands-on children's exhibit during the summer. And then the rest of our exhibits we have Avis Marvelous, And then we have the Earth Day event and a Renaissance-themed Family Fun Day to go along with the Leonardo exhibit. And so, happy to answer any questions after public comment. You have many of the details of the programs in your packet, but the recommendation is that you accept the recommendation from the PRCC and approve the programs. Thank you.
You're welcome. So is there anyone in the public that would like to ask a question or make a comment? Anyone online or in person? No one online. Anyone in person? No? Let's bring it back to one person. If you want to come up to the microphone, that would be great. There's a button on there you need to push. Yeah.
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry if I missed something, y'all. I just want to know, when can adults lap swim? What's the schedule going to be for that?
Maybe Clayton, can you talk about? Well, our guide will be published in late March. And that'll have all the details. But Clay, you could probably give an overview.
Yeah, so part of the expanded, because we ran out of time during the summer, so we have a preseason lap swim, 7:30 to 8:20, and that will be May 6th through June 12th. So it'll be 6 weeks, it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7:30 in the evening for the 6 weeks leading right up to the pool opening. So we've got an extra 6 weeks, total of 18 days, and then during the summer, we have an 8 a.m. lap swim Monday through Saturday, and we have a 7:30 p.m. lap swim Monday through Friday.
Nice.
Thank you. Any other questions from the public? Okay, so council, does anyone have any questions or comments?
Mayor, if I can follow that one up.
Sure.
So that was exactly my question for you, was the May 6th lap. And then also it's 7:30 to, I believe, 8 is what Clay said. I thought the high school pool, the lights didn't work at night.
They do work now.
They repaired them? After
Yes,
all these
we fixed
years?
them. Yes.
Oh, my gosh. It's been 15 years. Did that happen just this year?
Last year.
Okay,
Yeah, we had night programming last year.
thank you.
Any other council members? No. Council member Lombardo.
It's impressive how many opportunities there are for our constituents to get involved in things here. You've got actually something for everybody, most all age groups and all times, different times of the week. And I mean, it's amazing, really good. So let's get involved. It's nice to see so many people here, but they've all been very quiet. Okay.
Council or Mayor Pro Tem, you have anything? No. Okay, well, would anybody like to move this item forward, the recommendation of the PRCC?
Mayor Dennison will move the item as presented.
I'll second.
Council members Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Droz.
Yes. Now we have future agenda items. Is there anyone on the council that has an agenda item they would like brought up in the future? No? Okay, so we're good on that. Public comments, so here we go. Everybody's here for a reason, I think. So,
Everybody's been very patient.
the town council takes this time to consider your comments on items of concern which are not on the agenda. When you are called to speak, please state your name and community of residence. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Inappropriate behavior which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting will result in forfeiture of your public comment privileges. The town council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussion items not on the agenda. So those of you that are new here, you're commenting on something that's not on the agenda. So sometimes I feel bad because we can't answer you. You're making a statement, and you might want an answer, but we're restricted by law from actually responding to you. So you're here to make a statement, And when you're done, then you can go sit down. But anyway, so let's begin. So is there anyone in the public, online, or in the online or in person that would like to comment on this?
Mayor Droz, thank you. We have several requests to speak. If you'd like to speak, be sure to fill out a card, and I'll call you up when it's time. What I'd like to do is, since we have so many cards, I'll call someone up. I'm going to call a second name to kind of put you on deck, kind of get us rolling. Also, if you like what the person is saying up at the podium, just raise your hand, and that will give the council a visual on who's liking or feeling the same way as the person that's speaking. So first, we're going to have PR Crossman, followed by Clark Staley. Yeah, just push the button. There you go.
I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Abel and also town manager Curtis Yakimo, I think, for getting in touch with the owner of the 4.5 acres who owns in Pima Trail. And he came yesterday and he was cleaning some of the cleaning. I understand he lives in Norwalk and it's difficult for him to commute here. So talking to him, I gave him a company that maybe can help in cleaning that. He was also upset for the same way I am, for the way Sure State is refurbishing the hotel. And the mattress that they got out of the beds that are refurbishing, they are staying and everything and blowing all over the place. And he found 4 mattresses there. And he asked me, he couldn't take it. So I said, put them back in there, put them back in the hotel. I don't know how to get to these people. I had talked to the manager from the hotel. I sent her pictures, emails, but it seems like nothing works. So maybe code enforcement can go and ask them to clean all the mattresses, the furniture that they have in the back that is not looking good. So, but I want to thank you for helping me out, and hopefully he comes back and clean the rest. And thank you very much. That's all I want to say.
Thank you so much. And for those of you that have never done this, when the light is green, that means you have 3 minutes. When it turns yellow, I believe there's 30 seconds.
30.
And then it turns red. And then you get shocked. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway.
So next we have Clark Staley and then John Carlson.
Do I have it?
Could I follow
Okay.
Sue?
Am I good?
Greg Herring?
All right.
Make him next,
We need teams to help me.
We're on the same topic.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. It's that time of year again, and our dirt roads have again become canyons and mud holes, and that's what I'd like to briefly speak about. I have 2 points. First, if the town isn't responsible for our roads, I'm talking about Crestview Drive, then am I free to grade it and maintain it myself? If not the residents, then who? Who incurs liability if something goes wrong? Can we restrict who has access to our private road in a bid to reduce wear and tear? Secondly, my neighbors and I have been eagerly awaiting the results of the dirt road study the town initiated last August, I believe. We hope to see it and its interpretation publicly posted soon. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Also remember, if you stick around, everybody here, you can talk to us after the meeting if you would like. Anyway, so let's go on to the next person.
Okay, so we switched the next person. It's now Christy Carter, and then followed by Candy Moulton.
Hello. I have a dry throat, so I need this. Do I need to hit this button? Okay. I'm going to try to fit this in. Last year, I rescued a small dog from the streets. First, I had him scanned to see if he had a chip, and he did not. I tried all my resources to find someone that maybe could take him for a night and figure out what to do. Unfortunately, nobody could help, so I took him to the Yucca Valley shelter and left him in the run. I was hoping his owner would be found. When the shelter opened, they put him up on a temporary hold for several days. No one claimed him. Next was a behavioral test to see if he was adoptable, and he passed and was put up for adoption. I drove to the shelter every day, and when they opened, to spend time with him in the visitation yard. He was scared, but he was very sweet. I worked with him every day to socialize him and get him to trust humans. I had friends come visit him as well. We tested him with other dogs, and he was fine. He was making strides every day. During this time, I made a video of him for our animal-loving community to share in hopes of finding him a foster home or a family. One rescue shared the video and got 16,000 views. This was no small feat. This was only one share out of hundreds. Soon after, when I came to visit the pup, I was approached by the shelter manager, Doug Smith, who informed me that he had chosen to list the dog as unadoptable. He said the dog was too fearful, and he would shiver in the back of the kennel and not come up to meet the adopters. He said unless I found a rescue to pull him in 2 days, he would euthanize him. The shelter was far from full. I was frozen in fear and went into survival mode to save this dog. Our community went into action, and we were able to secure an adopter, but she was out of town for another month. So then we managed to find a foster in the interim when we scrambled to find a rescue then, because that was the only way Doug would allow us to pull the dog, was with a rescue. Doug's actions caused immense stress on me, my community, and this dog. Once he was removed from the shelter, he did a full 180. He's a great dog. Once again, Yucca Valley listed him as unadoptable when he was a great dog. I will never forget the feeling that I had when Doug told me he made him unadoptable. It felt cruel. The shelter and the staff had watched how hard I worked to help this dog, and it felt like they wanted me to fail. Anyways, I've never been so traumatized, and I would never allow anybody I know to take an animal there. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Next, we have Candy Moulton, followed by Cheryl Contopoulos. Yeah, just press the button. We can keep the button pressed right there on the microphone.
Is it green? No, on the microphone. Is there a red light?
Oh, okay. Hi, anyway, I'm a local resident for, 30-some years, realtor for about 26 other realtors, friends, family. Anyway, I'm kind of new to this, but what I've learned in a short time, just pretty much by working with Susan and other friends, is that our shelter is maybe well-meaning, and I don't want to be discouraging to them, but I think they can do a lot better. I've seen interviews with other shelter personnel and what their kill rates are or the euthanasia rates and the innovative programs that they put in place to really, really work with the public, to bring in volunteers to help these poor animals that are scared to death, to socialize them and just bring them to a place where they're adoptable and don't give up on them as quickly as they do. So that's what I'm here to say, mostly in support of those that have been doing this a lot longer than me, but my eyes have been opened recently that I think there just needs more transparency and a lot more public input to help them. And I hope that they'll be open to allowing the public to help them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Cheryl Contopoulos, followed by Christine Bostrom.
Just quickly, my father lived in Morongo Basin in the 60s and then through the 80s in Joshua Tree. He started with one German Shepherd, and because of loose dogs, he ended up with 4. Back then, you had to post signs and word of mouth. Today, we actually have the internet. We have Pet Finder. And in June, I came up here and did a public comment after the animal shelter report. And part of it is that there is no volunteer program. The other shelters in the Morongo Basin have very robust volunteer programs, of which I do for the Joshua Tree No Kill. 29 I know does, but it's further for me because I live here. And I've tried many times to try and help, including posting on Pet Finder. So that was in June. In December, I think it's mid or late December, there were finally 4 dogs posted. And in January, 2 more were added. Now, today, I have the number I can tell you, but it's like 8 dogs, 5 guinea pigs, and 1 or 2 cats. And if you look at the stats for Joshua Tree has 21 postings. 29 Palms has 39 animals posted. And when you start looking at that, they're missing an opportunity for these dogs to be adopted. Part of the other presentation that they did is on the intake of dogs, return to owners. The high was at 32% in 2019. Now it's at 15.2. Why is it like less than half that it had been? Adoption rate, the high in 2017 was 36%, now it's 15.4. Again, less than 0.5%. In 29 Palms, Rick Boyd was interviewed by 107, and he said their adoption rate is 68%. That is overall, so that includes other animals, so I don't know the exact dog ratio. The euthanization rate, the low was 19%, now it's 34.3. Now, if you add up the 4 columns that were presented for you at one point it was almost 90% in 2018, and now the columns total 69.9. What's happening to the other 30% of dogs? You know, they're not accounted for in those statistics, and that kind of reporting bothers me personally. The visitor rates are down 2,000 people since 2017, so from 6,000 to 4,000. I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying it's not a push on time. Calls have been the lowest since 2017 by 3,000. It's gone from 10,000 to 7,000. So my bottom line is, what is the outreach? With all the other shelters with their I'm sorry, I'm pretty emotional about an earlier presentation. They have great outreach. They don't just do things on site. They go out in the community and have events. Yucca and 29, it's almost twice a month. How you get dogs adopted? You write out histories on them instead of just likes cats, short hair. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Christine Bostrom, and then Evelyn Hanna.
Hi, my name is Christine, and I've lived in Yucca Valley since 1971. I'm not a public speaker, but I am an animal lover, as many of us are, and I know we can do much better at taking care of them, all of them. There is a wonderful organization called Best Friends Animal Society that has a magazine they send out to their donors. It has very helpful information. A few months ago, there was an innovative article that was about no-kill shelters. There are 2,491 shelters that are no-kill in the United States. The philosophy centers on 3 things every shelter should and can do and are successfully doing. Number 1, implement community cat programs. Number 2, offer services as an alternative to surrendering pets. And number 3, make adoptions easy and accessible for all. These 3 steps should be standard in every community because they work, and it is the right thing to do. The first 2 things lower the number of pets coming into the shelters, and the last one ensures that more pets go into new homes. The article cited examples of successful shelters in Florida, Arizona, and Texas, big cities and small, all saving 90% of their pets. You can read the articles for the details of how they did it in Best Friends magazine. We should not be killing animals for lack of space, period. We have to do better, and we can do better with these guidelines to care for and protect all of God's animals. And one other thing I wanted to talk about are extremely, extremely high costs to spaying and neutering our pets in this area. Well over $1,000, and that's for neutering. Spaying is even more. In the United States, the average cost to spay and neuter is $250 to $525, depending on the dog's age, size, and health, plus about $100 for pre-op tests like blood work, IVs, and their medication. These numbers are well below the cost in our area. Spaying and neutering is an integral part of being a good pet owner, plus it helps lower the shelter population. I don't understand how this procedure has become so incredibly expensive here. We must find a way to make this affordable in our community if we expect people to be able to be good, responsible pet owners. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next, we have Evelyn Hanna, and then we'll have Meredith Kuchan.
Hi, my name is Evelyn Hanna. I'm a long-term resident of the Morongo Basin. I live in Morongo Valley. I have a 5-acre ranch and a rescue dog. I've always rescued animals when I can. I have just one dog. My neighbor got a puppy about 2 years ago, and he lived in a trailer. He didn't take care of him. Long story short, this dog would come over to my property every single day. His name was Blazer. This is Blazer. Blazer was a sweet guy, but I could not keep him. I travel. I own a small business here in Yucca Valley. I'm really busy. I couldn't do it. He came over to my house one day. He was bleeding from his paw. I decided I'm going to take him to the shelter. I asked his owner if he could fix him and help him. He said, no, just take him to the shelter. So I took him to the shelter. My friend Christy Carter saw Blazer at the shelter. She said, he's in good spirits. He's doing good. On the shelter form, I left my number. I left my address. I said, no matter what you do, call me. I'm here for him. I called, I left messages. He was adopted out, my friend Christy said. And then a few days later, he was returned, and I called the shelter. I said, hey, let me know what happens with Blazer. A couple days later, I was told by my friend Christy, who had been volunteering, helping that other dog, this is around the same time in February, that they had put Blazer down. Blazer was a totally adoptable dog. The people returned him after 2 days because he was an escape artist. This is Blazer. This is my children with Blazer. Blazer was a puppy. He should have never been put down. And I did call here, and I left a message with one of you. And 2 days later, the person who was running the shelter called me and said, well, he was not adoptable. He was an escape artist. And I said, that is ridiculous. He was a wonderful dog. He was a family dog, and he was totally adoptable, and you just killed him for no reason. There are many stories like that with this shelter. I will never take another animal to that shelter again. I was willing to foster him. I told them that before they euthanized him, but they euthanized him anyway. And that is a shame, and we can do better as a community, and we can do better as a town, period. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next is Meredith Kuchan, and then Susan Herring.
Hi, everybody. I am one of the administrators of a Facebook group called Missing Pets in the Morongo Basin. Over 12,000 animal-loving locals use our group to post missing and found animals in an attempt to bring those animals home. I'm also a 20-year resident of Yucca Valley. In that time, I've found at least one lost or abandoned dog a year, 3 in the last 6 months. Just driving or walking or working in town, I always stop and try to help them. Animal lover. If I'm unable to reunite them with an owner myself, I've always brought them to the Yucca shelter, feeling confident that our shelter workers would do the job of caring for that animal. 20 years of that. know more after hearing these stories, and you'll hear more of them. And I've heard so many through the Facebook page. I feel like I would be doing these lost, scared, hungry, thirsty, and sometimes injured animals a disservice bringing them to Yucca Shelter. They're better off fending for themselves in the desert than risking their lives in a shelter that does nothing for them and nothing for their owners. And that is unacceptable. We demand a shelter that is transparent, that is accountable, not a private abattoir. If you feel that depiction's over the top, I want to see that it's not. I want transparency. I want accountability. I want understanding of what's happening behind those doors. And I would suggest that you add this discussion to the next agenda because it's not going to go away. Thanks.
Thank you.
Susan Herring, and then Greg Herring.
Susan Herring, Pioneer Town, 40-plus years, resident in the Morongo Basin. I never thought the day would come that I'd be standing in front of you all, along with many other people in this community, to say that we don't feel comfortable turning in stray animals to our shelter any longer. Why? Because they don't make it out alive, or the dog gets labeled unadoptable by the staff. We ask what can be done to improve our shelter. Radio station Z1077, Gary Digneau, recently interviewed Rick Boyd, the manager of the 29 Palms Animal Shelter. It's a great interview. If you haven't listened to it, you really do. Truly amazing success that 29 Palms is having towards reaching their goal of a no-kill status. They're aiming for 90% of all animals finding homes or rescues. Imagine that. 90% leaving alive that shelter. In 2024, 29 Palms had an adoption rate of 44% for dogs. Compare that to Yucca's 15% adoption rate and 13% the year before. And rarely do you hear anything negative about the 29 Palms shelter in any of the Facebook or social media. How can there be such a stark contrast between two local shelters in our area? Has anyone here in management or at the Yucca shelter reached out to Rick or to the mayor of 29 Palms to ask them what their secret is? The mayor will tell you of 29 Palms, it's their team of people, the right attitudes of those people, and they network, and network. Their staff and volunteers post on Pet Finder and every kind of social media to market their dogs. And they partnership with large rescue organizations like the San Diego Humane Society and Best Friends Animal Society. I can almost guarantee Yucca doesn't do that. And what about the number of the stray dogs brought to the Yucca shelter that are labeled unadoptable by staff? Is it the lack of exercise, lack of socialization, or is it your staff? Can a volunteer program help alleviate some of these issues? This dog-loving community sitting in this room tonight will tell you we don't want mediocre from Yucca. We don't want average, and we don't want status quo. To all of you that own a business, did you want to just be average in your business? Of course not. You want to be the best. So why should we, the community, expect less from this town? We want higher adoption rates like 29 Palms. If they can do it, so can Yucca. And we want transparency. We want to know what's going in your door and what's going out. The community challenges the town of Yucca Valley to be a better shelter. Our animals deserve that.
Thank you, Susan.
Next, we have Greg Herring and then James Porter.
Good evening again. I'm Greg Herring. I live in Pioneer Town. I'm a 35-year resident of the Morongo Basin. I am a retired Marine Corps major and retired Federal Civil Service employee. I'm going to mirror a lot what you've heard tonight so far. As my wife Susan mentioned, the community wants transparency. We can do this through technology at the Yucca Valley Animal Shelter to help the community understand what animals are being taken in and what's going out and where they're going. We're in the 21st century. We're in the world of social media and technology. This can't be hard to do. My wife also mentioned to you last meeting about the importance of listing found dogs on the shelter's website. Other shelters do this within an hour of the dogs being taken in. This is going to be a big, huge benefit to owners of lost dogs so that they can be reunited quickly. We can make this happen. Hopefully, the town council can make this happen for the community. Second, the website needs to be consistently updated with adoptable animals. As you heard some of the statistics already, the adoptable animals on the website are few compared to our other local Morongo Basin shelters out here. We need to improve that. Third, list the dogs at the animal shelter, on the animal shelter website that are designated to be euthanized, and provide reasonable advance notice so that rescue organizations can attempt to find good homes for the dogs that can be adopted. There is a whole community of rescuers out there and dog lovers that will network and try to save as many dogs as possible. In our opinion, the shelter should be utilizing and exhausting every resource to save the life of a dog. And such as, like I spoke last week or last meeting, getting the volunteer program in place to help exercise the dogs and help socialize the dogs to other people other than the staff at the shelter itself. You know, I've heard the Yucca Valley shelter say, you know, we're in line with other shelters. Why can't we be better than that? Mediocrity and status quo are not okay with this community. It shouldn't be with the council either. So let's do better. 29 Palms did it. I know Yucca Valley can do it. So I challenge you, please listen to the community tonight and let's direct some changes at our shelter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is James Porter, and then Quincy Bates.
I'm going to borrow their pictures for a minute. I feel like everybody else. Do I have to push a button? I guess not. Hi, everybody. My name is James Porter. I have lived in Yucca Valley since 1984. I actually know most of you guys, so I will just put it out there. I work for the Sheriff's Department. I have been with the Sheriff's Department for almost 30 years. I am a sheriff's captain by trade, and I think that's important for me to mention because sometimes my life experience is government loses their way, and I think this is what's happening with the Yucca Valley Animal Shelter right now. When we focus on process and we stop caring about outcomes, we lose touch with the humanity that we should be delivering to our communities, and the numbers tell me that's what's happening. In 2021, the Yucca Valley Animal Shelter took in 775 dogs. About 40% of those were adopted or returned to owners, and 21% were euthanized. By 2023, they had taken in 1,009 dogs. Only 15% were returned to owners, 15% were adopted, and 34% were euthanized. So more were euthanized than were adopted or returned to owners combined. That is terrible. I have long volunteered at animal shelters. I am a longtime volunteer at the Joshua Tree Shelter. I have also volunteered for many years with the Yucca Animal Placement Society, and I spend my time when I can near where I work with the DeVore Animal Shelter. The DeVore Animal Shelter has a rough reputation of being a very high kill shelter. So let me give you some numbers about what a high kill shelter means. There's lots of places out there that categorize how shelters operate and what makes a shelter a high kill shelter. So you can look at the ASPCA, you can look at Best Friends Animal Society, you can look at the American Humane Society, and they place high kill shelter numbers at kill rates between 8% and 15%. Yucca Valley is killing 34% of the dogs that come into their shelter. 34%. 34 out of every 100 dogs that come to the shelter where they should be sheltered die. That is terrible. We can do better. So I'm going to echo what everybody else says behind me. I don't know what the solution is, but I know what the solution isn't. The solution isn't doing what we're doing today. That is not working. That's working in terms of getting animals out of our society that are troublesome, I guess. But this dog right here, this is me. This is me with a dog named Jelly Bean, right here. Jelly Bean was about to be killed. He had been picked up in Joshua Tree by Susan and her adoption team. He was on the list to be euthanized. The Joshua Tree Shelter took him in. The Yucca Valley Shelter said he was unadoptable because he was aggressive and unpredictable with men. That's me with him. Jelly Bean is a wonderful dog. Was he scared? Absolutely. Wouldn't you be scared? I'd be scared sitting in that shelter waiting to die. We can do better. So whether it's a volunteer program or oversight or new adoption methods or expanded outreach on Facebook, we need to do it. And for everybody here, March 4th is the next council meeting. Bring 5 of your friends and make every one of them talk. Government moves when it's uncomfortable. And I will be here too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quincy Bates, and then John Carlson.
Okay. My name's Quincy Bates. I'm a 35-year resident in the Morongo Basin, 25 years in Yucca Valley. I have a comment and a question, whether you guys can answer it or not. But many years ago, when the shelter opened up in the present location, we adopted a dog. Her name was Honey Bear. It was a great experience. We got to go in. We chose several dogs. We narrowed it down to 2. They allowed us to bring our dog to the shelter to meet the dogs that we were looking at, and we ended up choosing one, and we had her for 15 years, and she led a happy life until she was old, and we had to put her down. But this past September, I was driving through Morongo after a Sam's run on a Saturday, and I was driving into Morongo Valley, and someone had just hit a dog on Highway 62 near the fire station. I stopped because it had just happened. The dog was seizing or flopping around in the highway, and I pulled over and pulled this dog out of the highway and just pulled it to the side of the road and sat with it because I thought it was going to die right there. It was a Saturday. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know what to do. I just figured this dog was just going to die, and then we were going to figure it out. After a few minutes, it actually jumped up and ran into the tamarisk trees over by the fire station. So I pulled my car around, and by that time, several people had stopped to see what happened. And I stayed there until a highway patrolman came, and the dog was walking around. It wasn't mean, it was scared, it was probably in pain, but it wasn't attacking anyone, or it was just scared. Everyone was asking, where's this dog going to go? What's going to happen to it? And the highway patrolman said that animal control was going to come pick it up. I couldn't stay to find out where this dog was going because I had a bunch of groceries. I'd already been there for an hour. And I drove home. I put a post on Facebook and the missing pets page asking, or so that the owner could find it or we could find someone to help this dog. At least 3 people wanted to adopt this dog. There was one who was familiar with the dog and the owner. There was a rescue and a foster that wanted to get this dog first thing Monday morning and was told that this dog was not hurt and it could be picked up on Monday. All 3 of these people called Monday morning and the dog had already been euthanized. No one got a chance to even get this dog. It was a beautiful husky. So I want to know what has happened to this animal shelter from when it opened at that new facility and going in, walking around, picking dogs, and now they're just being euthanized. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have John Carlson and then Susan Burnett.
My name is John Carlson. I retired 25 years ago as a sergeant from Riverside County Sheriff's Department, Yucca Valley.
Is your microphone on?
I've been a resident of Yucca Valley for 25 years. I'm a dog owner. 5 months ago, my dog died. My wife and I went to the Yucca Valley shelter to look for a dog to adopt. It was a bad experience. We felt unwelcome there. We left and we thought we're not going there. Went down to Desert Pet Oasis in Desert Hot Springs and found the perfect dog. He's graduating Thursday in this room from the dog obedience class. All my previous dogs in Yucca Valley have graduated from this class. We take him to Esser Park, which we love, which is the Yucca Valley Dog Park. We love that. We commend Yucca Valley for that dog park. Thursday, I'm adopting Jelly Bean. We want a companion for our other dog. We went out to the Joshua No-Kill shelter, met with Kelly out there, had a meeting. Actually, first we went in there, I went in the dog cage. Jelly Bean jumped in my lap. Very friendly, big, goofy dog. Just loved him at first sight. He was supposed to be unadoptable because he was bad with men. A week later, we took my dog that I have currently out to the shelter and did a meet and greet and did about a quarter-mile walk with the two dogs with Wendy, the manager out there. They got along perfectly. We are fostering him until he's fixed, and when he's fixed, we're adopting him. I'm picking up Thursday. I can't call him Jelly Bean. I can't yell it out at the Esser Park, so we're renaming him Buck from Call of the Wild, Jack London's book. That was a main character dog. He kind of looks like what Buck probably looked like. I'm going to give this and have this passed around, if you will. Anyway, I feel very strongly that if this dog was put down by your shelter, it would have been just a crime. He was saved. He was moved to the Joshua Tree No-Kill shelter, where he was advertised on Facebook, where I saw his picture, where I read about him. I know Sue. I called Sue. And I thought, we got to go see him. And we just knew that was a dog for us to be a companion for our other dog. He will be in class in this room in the future for the dog obedience school if he needs it. If he doesn't, we'll have him out at Esser Park and just having a good time with him.
Thank you.
Susan Burnett, and then we'll have Rich Middleborough.
Thanks for bringing it. Hi, I'm Susan Burnett.
You just turned it off. Can you turn it back?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Susan Burnett. I live in Pioneertown. I'm an animal lover, as everybody else that you've heard from is. And over the past few years have spent and contributed a lot of my time helping in our community because there's a lot of loose dogs, and we can argue about what the problem is with that. But I'm just here to reiterate that I used to take dogs to the Yucca Valley shelter, and I used to recommend people do it when they find dogs because I thought, at least they're safe and not running on the road or getting hit or whatever. But after these experiences of my friends and seeing things that I've read on our social media pages, I will never recommend anybody take a pet there. And I am imploring you guys to get to the bottom of what is happening at that shelter. I'm sure the people work there have good intentions, think they're doing the right thing, but I don't know if it's a lack of managerial oversight or if it's just laziness, but I think they're doing a horrible job. And I think we live in the 21st century, as somebody else said, and there's no reason for it. There's no reason to have that high of a kill percentage. And there are a lot of people in this community that are willing to help. If it's a money issue or a time issue. Another thing, the shelter's not really even open. If your dog gets loose and gets picked up on a Saturday, you can't get your dog until Tuesday. And that seems strange to me. I mean, I know technically we live in a small town in a rural community, but I think the shelter should have broader hours. And I guess I'm just here to say that myself and other people, we're going to keep showing up until we hear from you guys that you're going to try to help us change the shelter here. Thanks.
Thank you.
So the last card I have is for Rich Middleborough.
So my name is Rich Middleborough. My wife and I have lived in Yucca Valley for about 30 years. And we lost our dog Maya about 4 years ago, and it's taken us 4 years to get over that loss. And about 2 weeks ago, I decided it's time for us to start looking for a dog. So I looked on Pet Finders, and I found a dog at the Yucca Valley Animal Shelter, and I filled out the paperwork and waited for a phone call. I'm still waiting for that phone call. And so there's a dog by the name of Clementine that was rescued by the Joshua Tree No-Kill Shelter. And Clementine was deemed to be unadoptable, and she was scheduled to be euthanized. So Joshua Tree Shelter rescued her, and we're picking her up tomorrow at noon. So I was looking for her on here. I thought she might be one of the ones that was. So anyway, there is something wrong. I don't know what it is. All I can say is I was going to be a customer, but you didn't make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to make a comment, online or in person? Did I see a hand back there? If you could state your name and your community of residence, and don't push the button.
My name's Donna Martin, Yucca Valley. I've been a resident of Morongo Basin for 25 years, 15 in Yucca Valley. When I first came up here, I worked for Kay Baker at Hyades Kennels.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there with her for about 3 years, mid to late 90s, before she passed away. If I remember right, some of the land that our shelter now is on is land that she had donated to the town. Can't remember if that's right or not, but I know what we did there with the dogs. We worked with just about every dog. I even wanted to work with one of the dogs that was in for court, supposedly having killed its owner. Actually, it ended up the owner had died, and the dog was locked up with him for 2 or 3 weeks before he was found. I went over to the shelter about 2 months ago. One of our dogs passed away. My husband's disabled, and he really needs a new dog. This one I rescued, and she's like my Velcro. She stays with me. I went over to the shelter, and I took some blankets, too, to donate. I told them, they said, oh, yeah, okay, I guess we'll take them. Asked them about dogs, volunteer programs. Go in and work. Oh, we don't have one. There's no need for it. I asked if there were any dogs adoptable. They said one, but you can't see it right now. This was, midday of a work day, and I wasn't allowed to go in to see what they did. There's all sorts of dogs barking. Why is there only one adoptable? And why did the 2 gentlemen who were there have such disregard? Like I was disturbing them by walking into their office. And that's disgraceful. Having worked with dogs, yes, I had to euthanize some. It was part of my job, and I hated that part. These days, there is more that can be done for these dogs. There's a lot more opportunity. And volunteers. The volunteer program is important and needed for any shelter to have. And I know there's plenty of people that would volunteer. Thank you.
Thank you. And is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, there's 2 more. So state your name and where you live.
My name is Reevy, and I work for the Yucca Valley Animal Shelter. I live in 29 Palms. Once we had a dog named Conga. She was found in a crate where her deceased owner was on the floor, and he had been dead for a few weeks. We, of course, rescued that dog and took immense time with her. She was extremely afraid of us, as you can imagine. She was emaciated. And we took our time with her. And she is an extremely successful story because she was adopted out, not just by herself, but along with another German Shepherd that we have at the shelter. And they are a super happy family. That is one out of hundreds of success stories. It is unfortunate that we have life and death a part of our life, and euthanasia is never easy to address, but we value each and every life. We feed them every morning. We feed them every night. If they need medication, we're there for them. We love them. And I have mourned some, yes, I understand, but we do not treat them as if they're in a Rolodex of, oh, look, who's up? Their date's up. We have to put them down now. We look at each and every case. And the true problem is not just euthanasia itself, it's people as well. The amount of abandonment that happens is what truly breaks my heart. The amount of people that don't get their animals fixed. And I recommend please going to banning if you cannot afford to fix your pets. That's where I get my pets fixed, and that's actually where I go to have all my pets' needs taken care of. I've never worked with a group of people that care more, and I have seen the worst of the worst. I have worked for people in Los Angeles where there are dead dogs in kennels and they don't care. I have never worked with a better team, and I'm proud to work where I work. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? There was somebody else with their hand up? Yes. Don't touch the button.
Oh.
Well, now you can turn it on. It's off.
Oh, it's on. You guys, I thought I learned. Okay. I am Wendy Jordan. I'm the new executive director of the Joshua Tree No-Kill Shelter. And, oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone, truly for listening to everybody else. This is such an important topic. It's been neglected for some time. I'm up here for two reasons. One, on behalf of Joshua Tree No-Kill Shelter, and just speaking to Jelly Bean and Clementine, those are the two polls that I've made from Yucca Valley. As these folks said, they were deemed unadoptable. There has never been any aggression or even questionable behavior from either dog. I have nearly 20 years experience working with animals. It did not take any of my skills to find this out, though. Truly just being a human and just giving these animals a place to decompress and know that they're safe and loved is all that it took. That is it. So among everything everybody else said, one of the things that stuck out to me is how many empty kennels there are at Yucca Valley. I do hear this from the community quite often. I've not been there to see it myself. Space-based euthanasias are unfortunately a reality in the shelter system, and as the last individual who spoke said, it is a community problem. It's not just a shelter problem. But when you've got empty kennels and you're not giving animals a chance to be rehabbed, that's a shelter problem. And on behalf of just taking my JT hat off and being a Yucca community member and also having been a veterinary technician here in this city, I would feel remiss if I didn't say that I know somebody who worked at the Yucca Valley shelter and did claim that there was mistreatment of animals that was blatant. And so I am here to mention that and put it on a record, if you will. That needs to be looked into. It was a reputable source, an employee of the shelter, blatant mistreatment of dogs and cats. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right. Oh, we have one. I don't know if that's allowed. You already had your 3 minutes. Is that okay? Okay. Yeah, we'll give you 1 minute. I hate to do that to you. Thanks.
young lady who spoke. 2 years ago, my daughter-in-law went to the shelter to volunteer. She came home with a dog because of the woman who was there, who had not been there before. A young woman, which very well could have been her. I applaud her. People with passion and interest, that's what we need. And that's not what this is about. It is about change, and not anyone in particular.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone that has not spoken yet, would you like to speak? Okay, that's it. So we'll close that up, the public comments, and if you want to hang around, we can talk to you after, and somebody may talk about, can we wait till the staff comments? We're almost there. Okay. Yeah, I'm afraid everybody's going to leave. I think we all want to say something, but let's go with staff reports and comments. If you hang around, you might hear a few things from us. So, staff reports and comments.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to do a little round table here this evening. I'll start with Sue. Sue, is there anything you'd like to report for the council this evening?
Since it was the community services show tonight, I have nothing to add.
Alex, how about a very brief update on the Aquatic Center, the Old Town project, and maybe the Senior Center project?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Just an update on the projects that we have for the aquatic recreation centers, the Town of Yucca Valley Aquatic Recreation Center. At this point of time, the project is about 20% complete. As you all know, that is a 2-year project. That is, we have started it back in September of last year. And will be, in the next 2 weeks, we will see the block walls coming up on that project. So it will, determine and the plan and determine the map of that project coming up. So, and the good news is also that we have received our permits from Fish and Game for the Joshua trees removal. So it's going to be done tomorrow. So that is the last straw that will stop the complete grading of the project and the installation of the solar canopies and stuff like that. So it's a good news. The other project that we have is the Senior Center, and it has started already. It's been, the contractor have demolished the bathroom or almost already and start working on the outside, demolishing the outside of the sidewalk and to create a path of travel for handicappable people to get to the Senior Center. So that is good. That project is to be completed by November of this year. So on the other project that we have update, and I think most of you seen it, as the Old Town parking, and one day they paved all of Elk, which is very, very impressive. They did, that is road right now is completely paved, is a stamped concrete, kind of like different color concrete than any other streets, and that is the basis for the staff recommending that area to be in the farmers market, hopefully. So the next week we will be complete paving the parking lot and the alley, and then the contractor will be working on installation of the shelters. That is, the shade structures, and working on the concrete and the seat wall. And of course, after we completely install the electrical panel for that, we will wait for Edison to give us the electricity. Then we will complete the irrigation, the plants, the landscaping, and the lights for that project. Any questions? I'll be more than happy to answer.
Alex, did you touch base on the estimated completion dates on those projects?
Oh, yes. As reported last meeting when we give the update, it is still pending weather, pending a lot of things at the end of March.
And then for the Senior Center?
The Senior Center is November of this year. I mentioned that. Yeah.
And it's really interesting. I just want to add a little bit onto Alex's comments. The first meeting on the Aquatic Center of formal town action was December 4th, 2018, authorizing the release of the request for proposals for the design concept and the feasibility study. So it's really interesting. That was in 2018. And today at the EMT meeting, we were discussing recruitment to staff the aquatic center. So it's interesting how long ago it started, but the end is actually in sight. Alex, any other comments you have this evening?
I'm good. Any question, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Deborah, do you have anything for the group this evening? Captain, anything for the group this evening? Council, just a few comments tonight. I believe her last name was Mrs. Crossman. Thank you for your comments on the construction over at the hotel that backs up onto Pima Trail. We will make sure that either building and safety or code enforcement have a very brief conversation with those individuals on the mess that's out there. For Mr. Daly on the dirt road, you asked a number of questions. You're probably not going to like my response. A number of your questions are legal in nature and go to attorneys where you need to answer those types of liability questions. That's not anything that the town can advise you on. Then finally, I want to thank all the speakers this evening on the animal shelter issues. Animals are near and dear to many people's hearts. And at the staff level, we take your comments extremely seriously. We've heard your concerns expressed, and we will be putting together a program for the town council in response to those issues. Some of them are definitely questions that need to be answered. Some of them may be perceptions or misperceptions. And maybe there's been some communication that can be improved from the shelter in terms of what they do. But there's also some legitimate questions on numbers and the different categories that we look at when we evaluate the effectiveness of a shelter and adoption programs. So we truly do appreciate your comments. At the staff level, they've been heard, and we'll be putting together appropriate responses for those. Captain Porter, if you're still in the room, I've known you for a long time. I see your posts on Facebook all the time. I would be more than happy to meet you at the shelter sometime, and we can have a conversation about operations. Be happy to do that at your convenience anytime. That concludes staff's comments, Mayor and Council.
All right, thank you. So now it's time for mayor and council member reports and comments. So we can comment on a variety of things, including what everyone spoke about tonight. So let's start with Councilmember Dennison.
Thank you, Mayor. So there seemed to be a common theme in here tonight by all of our attendees, and thank you for coming here. I'm very frustrated on the matter itself for many reasons. And one, I'm going to kind of go back in your court also. It sounds like this has been going on a long time. I don't read everything on posts 99% of the time. It's bad information anyway, and I kind of look at that. I'd much rather hear it directly from someone. I am your representative for this town. I have a district, but I'll answer to anybody in this town or even the whole entire Morongo Basin and even outside. I always will. I've given direction to the clerk many times to give anybody that asks for my number, you can have it. I've gotten no emails. I've gotten no social media messages and stuff, but I don't follow that stuff. But is there anyone here that's reached out to me and I did not reply to you? That is, once again, why I'm so frustrated. I get caught up in this stuff all the time too, but I have to go to the person that's going to help direct this and help. I'm not saying I'm going to do it individually. We're an entire council that creates a movement in our town. And this is one thing that's very personal to all of you. And you make comments about coming back again and again to force the matter. I don't know if you're going to have to force it. I can't really talk on the matter because it's not agendized, but we will get to that point and we will move the needle. We will. But we all of us here have our hand on that rudder, and it takes all of us to make it move. So please take an opportunity if you want to talk to your elected representatives that also have their hand on the rudder. I'm here for you anytime. Email, look up my name on social media. You can even call the clerk for the town. I will ask her to just give you my phone number, my personal number. That's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lombardo.
I'm pretty much in agreement with what Councilmember Dennison said. I really appreciate you coming and talking to us face to face, letting us understand your frustrations and your thoughts. It's so important to have communication together because we want to solve the problems that do exist. We try to run a town that's meeting the needs of our constituents, and obviously, we need to look into something here. So I think this will be raised in the future. I think it's something that we can get a handle on. It's been done in other places. We'll solve it. And we do need to look into it. And I appreciate you being here. And I know it's emotional for a lot of you to express your feelings in public like this. So I respect the fact that you came and talked. It's hard to do, to talk in public. So thank you. I want to just comment that I have received several phone calls from people in the community to solve particular problems that they're having with the community, with the town's reaction or things that we can improve. And I feel like I've been responsive and the situations were taken care of, so I hope this is another one that we can handle. I am there for you if you want to call me personally and discuss anything or give me suggestions. I'm open to that. I may not always agree, but I do respond if you're logical and make good sense. So I do encourage you to do so. I saw some things, separate subject now. I travel quite a bit in my personal life now that I'm retired, and I was just in Tucson at the Gem and Mineral Show that they have there, and there was this incredible space that I saw that I would love to see in Yucca Valley, and it was a place where the community gathered, and there was little shops and places to eat and places for entertainment, and it was all built out of containers, and they were spaced in an area with really interesting concrete and decorations to the containers to make them more attractive. But it was a place for art and for music and for food, and I really thought it was something that I would like to see here in Yucca, in some of the space, maybe in Old Town where there's, fields that are not fully developed or houses that really should be knocked down. I thought it was a great idea. I'm going to bring that forward in the future. But there's so many things that I see in other communities that I would like to bring to Yucca. So I encourage people that travel or that even have creative ideas to inform me of what you've seen. Pictures are helpful, but I like those creative ideas. Please bring them to me so we can make Yucca more attractive and a more community-oriented place. But today's meeting was very heartwarming. We did art. We did, there were so many community services and so many athletic things. It was just fun. The fact that we're rebuilding the senior center, these are all things that bring us closer together, and they have a close place in my heart, much like your pets. So, thank you.
Councilmember Schooler.
Yeah, regarding the animal shelter issue, I certainly concur with the comments of fellow council members so far. Councilmember Dennison said it all. We're interested in hearing from people. We're glad to see everybody out here. We're thankful for the input, but we need to know about it. And when we have problems, we have a pretty good track record about resolving those problems. So thank you for the input from staff as well. And there's just different perspectives on these issues, and I'm confident that we can get through it. But thank you for the input, and that's really all I have tonight.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Abel.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone's thoughtful comments on how we can improve the shelter, and most importantly, how to improve the animals' experience at the shelter. I will definitely be listening to that Z1077 interview and hearing their ideas over there. I also saw staff doing a great job of taking notes, and that's one thing I'm very proud as a council member, that our staff doesn't let people vent and just say, well, it'll go away. They really do look at solutions and thoughts and how we can improve. So we have a very good track record of responding to public comments, and I appreciate staff taking such great notes during the whole topic tonight. I personally, myself, spend money each and every month in promoting adoption for animals. I put my money where my mouth is, and I do support adoption and animal adoption, so I encourage you to continue to not give up on us, continue to donate those blankets that are needed up there. I ask you to continue to keep us accountable for how we're doing our job. I do think the comment about process versus outcome is very right on. We can so often get involved with a process that we don't really think of what the outcome's going to be. And it's the outcome that makes the difference. The process might be efficient, but where's the outcome? So again, I'm glad that was brought forward to us as well. And I also want to reiterate, you are speaking to the correct council members up here. The council members here have a long track record of really being supportive of pets and owners of pets. Otherwise, we wouldn't have spent, I think most everyone on this council maybe was on council at the time where we built the brand new shelter. And if you've lived here long enough and saw the old house that was made into a shelter, and you saw cardboard on the fences trying to keep the wind off the pets and them being outdoors, and it was just a hideous shelter. This council put forth money in a partnership with the county of San Bernardino to bring a state-of-the-art shelter up for those pets, and we do need to make improvements, as was pointed obviously to us tonight. Also, this council is the one that put monies forward to bring people and pets together at Essex Park. And we're also looking at other opportunities to be able to do things in the future because the socialization and interaction, we don't get a whole lot of that in our society. And I see Essex Park, where we got a lot of pushback at the beginning of spending money and building that park up there. It is one of the busiest parks consistently that I've seen in Yucca Valley. And I see so many people that have become friends because of the their pets and the park uses. And I've been up there with my own dog, and I've not ever had a bad experience. I know there are some experiences. Sometimes dog's a little aggressive and it's time for us to go, you know, kind of thing. But for the most part, it's been a really good addition to our quality of life up here. So again, I want to reiterate that you are speaking to the right council members up here when you came to us tonight, and we appreciate you very much. Also, I wanted to thank the gentleman who brought up the dirt roads. We have a maintained road system committee. Councilmember Dennison is on that as well as myself. So we definitely want to continue to look at those issues, especially that particular road that has a track record of needing maintenance. So thank you again for being here tonight, everyone.
Mayor, can I make, before you close the meeting out this evening, I have
Nobody walk away.
one comment I need to make. Rivi, to stand up in front of the public when a part of your operation is being questioned deeply in terms of your motivation and what you do for a living took a great degree of composure and professionalism, and I want to commend you for that. You don't see that very often today, so thank you.
Thank you. I was just raising my hand and agreeing. Okay, so I'm going to go on for a little bit. So I'm going to talk about my experience. But I do want to say, so I'm going to start. I'll try and keep it under 3 minutes. So you guys stick me to it. Okay. Okay. So anyway, I want to mention also the old animal shelter. I'm going to tell a story. I remember my stepdad got a German Shepherd from there, and he still lived next door at the time, and he had to go to the Veterans Hospital, so he boarded it there at the old one. Well, he comes home, and the dog's sitting on his porch. It got out. So a couple months later, he had to do the same thing, and he brought it to the animal shelter to board it for a day, and he got home, and the dog was sitting on his porch again, about a mile away. So pretty incredible. But I do want to say most everybody here, thank you for sticking around. I really appreciate it, because most people, when they're done, they just leave. And I have had contact with some of you, and I know Susan I have, and there are other people, so I appreciate you reaching out. But, it's good. Contact all of us. My phone number's out there also. It's on Facebook. I want to mention that I'm an animal rescuer. I have tortoises, I have burros, I've rescued from the shelter, and I have a couple non-rescues, or I've had in the past, standard poodles, but we've rescued 10 greyhounds over the years. And you might think, well, how 10, because we've had 2 or 3 at a time. You get a greyhound after they've raced, they've been abused, and you get them about 4 or 5 years old, and they don't live very long. So you only have them till they're 9 or 10, or even younger sometimes. And I was also very involved in an assembly bill and a Senate bill, which actually stopped greyhound abuse. They use greyhounds because they're universal blood type for all dogs. So they keep them in these little cages, and they live their whole life for 5 or 6 years in a cage, and they draw their blood 3 times a month. Well, that was outlawed now. They can't keep them in the cages. Not the blood donations, that's fine. But I'm very involved in animal rescue, so I understand where you're coming from, and I'm really glad you're all here. And I know for sure this will be an agenda item in the future. So thank you for being here. And I still have time left, so let's see. No, anyway, so our announcement is our next upcoming meeting schedule, the next regular meeting of the Yucca Valley Town Council will be held on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025 at 5 p.m. right here. Meeting adjourned. Even though I didn't. What? Was that appropriate?